Citigroup wrote 3 confidential memos to their wealthiest investors about how things were going. They reached the conclusion that the United States was no longer really a democracy, but had become a plutonomy, a society controlled exclusively by and for the benefit of the top 1% of the population, who now have more financial wealth than the bottom 95% combined. The memo gloated about the growing gap between rich and poor and how they were now the new aristocracy, and that there was no end in sight for the gravy train they were on. There was, though, one problem. According to Citigroup, the most potent and short term threat would be societies demanding a more equitable share of the wealth. In other words, the peasants might revolt. Citigroup lamented that the non rich might not have much economic power, but they do have equal voting power with the rich. One person, one vote. And that's what really scares them, that we can still vote. In fact, we have 99% of the votes, and they only have 1%.
Is the All right, maybe. All right, you guys. Now we're good. Now we're good. me and my me and my me and my lady were like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Technical difficulties. Budget cuts, budget cuts. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, because my intro apparently got messed up. You guys didn't hear my intro. We're just gonna start from complete and total scratch, right? Um, First of all, so let me welcome everybody in. Thank you everybody for being part of this. This conversation is a long time coming. It's been sparked because of, right? Why did I look down and read Aquatechi's comment? Let there be sound, right? Okay, so like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, and we're going to have a conversation about money and what's going on in the overall society, and why we're sounding the way we're sounding, or some young people are sounding the way they're sounding. I pulled a bunch of clips. I've been watching. Well, y'all already know. I've been watching stuff like this forever, right? Um, there's a lot to go through, and a lot of this conversation was sparked by um, the Raj Report. Shout out to the Raj Report, um, my brother in crime. Um, the Rod Report in his recent streams, the one about Jay Z, and another one about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. So, you know, there was some back and forth, and I want to stress this today. A lot of the perspectives y'all going to hear are some lefty perspectives. I'm not trying to convince anybody about that. What I am trying to do is get the numbers and stuff like that teased out, right? That's the important part, right? And to give y'all a perspective on why people are sounding the way they're sounding, the struggle, and even why the women in particular, black women, are sounding the way they're sounding, right? And so that's what I want to stress. So I am going to play that Citibank memo again, because I see we got a few more people that jumped in since the lack of sound, right? So I'm going to play that again, and then we'll have a conversation after that, especially now that you guys can hear me. And then after that, we'll have a conversation, and then we'll go to the next clip and have a conversation again. So let's play that Citibank memo once again, and then we will actually, yeah, and then we'll talk about it.
Wrote 3 confidential memos to their wealthiest investors about how things were going. They reached the conclusion that the United States was no longer really a democracy, but had become a plutonomy, a society controlled exclusively by and for the benefit of the top 1% of the population, who now had more financial wealth than the bottom 95% combined. The memo gloated about the growing gap between rich and poor and how they were now the new aristocracy, and that there was no end in sight for the gravy train they were on. There was, though, one problem. According to Citigroup, the most potent and short term threat would be society's demanding a more equitable share of the wealth. In other words, the peasants might revolt. Citigroup lamented that the non rich might not have much economic power, but they do have equal voting power with the rich. One person, one vote. And that's what really scares them, that we can still vote. In fact, we have 99% of the votes, and they only have 1%.
So what do we think about that? Now that you guys can hear that, what do you think about that? The complaint that there's 99% of regular people, air quotes, that we're gonna talk about that in a minute too. What do y'all think about the complaint being that, oh, there's only 1% of us, and the problem is that these other um lesser beings can vote or can do things that disrupt our money making ways, right? Right? Our schemes, our whatever we've plotted before. What do we think about that? Right? That the the fact that these people, and like I was saying before, these people have the ears of local politicians. They have phone numbers and emails to important and influential people, right? Some of them are the important and influential people, right? But yet their complaint is us, right? The complaint is us. The complaint is average regular people, right? They get to influence things, and they can overturn turn our our plans, right? That's at least they're being honest, right? But notice, and this was a Citibank memo leaked. So air quotes leaked. So supposedly it wasn't supposed to get out, right? It wasn't supposed to get out, but it's out, right? And this is years ago. I remember about hearing about this years ago too. Years and years ago. Complaining that, oh, these average people, they might upturn our whole plans because they could vote. If these people would if they had the ability, they would go back to being the people that, or going back to the time where only like uber wealthy people made things happen, right? And they controlled the vote, or they controlled how society went. Very, very overtly, they already control how society goes, everyone, right? So let's I'm getting ready to play the other clip for you guys. So yeah. So I'm watching that and I'm like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Like, yeah, y'all have y'all money, and everybody else has maybe, if we're lucky, right, a little bit of wealth, right, if we're lucky, and a voting power, right. So let me pause right here. Let's continue with the rest. Okay, let me share this also. And y'all let me know in the comments if there's again any technical difficulties. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Okay.
So let's kick it off with the top 20%. To be in a top 20% in America, you need to have a threshold net worth of $558,000 and an income of $106,000 per year. In my video where I went over median by quintile, the median net worth of the top 20% was $608,000. So being that the threshold to enter into the top 20% is $558,000, that means there are far more homes clustered towards that lower end of the top 20% than there are at that upper end of that top 20%. Because remember, with medians, they are the exact center point of a set of data. It's important to remember that America is a very large and diverse nation, and these numbers are more generalized as they attempt to capture the nation as a whole. If you isolate individual pockets of the nation, these numbers can vary greatly. In Detroit, for example, an income of just $71,000 will land you in this top 20%. However, in San Francisco, you need an income of $239,000 per year to be among the top 20% of the city's earners. An interesting fact to consider is that over 50% of the nation's income is earned by households that have an income of $100,000 or more. So that means that roughly 20% of our nation is earning about 50% of our nation's income. It's important to keep in mind that the median household income in America is $65,700, and the median household net worth is $121,700. To find yourself in the top 20% bracket, you need to have a household income of nearly double the American median and a net worth of almost 4.5 times the typical American household. So making it into the top 20% is no small feat. But sometimes I think we look at these numbers of the top 20% and we think they look a little bit low. Hence why I think there were so many requests for this video, breaking it down even further. I know personally, I look at these numbers and I think they look a little bit low. How can a household income of $100,000 put you in the top 20%? I look around and I see so many people driving luxury cars, living in large homes, and just all around seeming to live a luxurious life. So it just doesn't seem to add up. But it's important to keep in mind that 77% of Americans have some type of debt. 47% carry.
Okay. So I wanted to pause right here, Do y'all see this? First of all, can y'all still hear me? Right? We can still hear Mr. Z, right? Let me get a comment in the comment section so I can make sure that we're gonna go over these numbers, right? 77% of Americans have debt, right? 47% have credit card debt. 62 have a mortgage. That, yes, that's good. Pay off your house, right? This is really good, right? Auto loan 44%, and 27% of people are leasing. A lot of those nice cars are leases, right? A lot of those nice cars are leases. But notice, to be in the top 20%, you're getting close to double the median household income. That's just the top 20%. When I first watched this, what really got me was the fact that the top 20% of Americans make 50% of income of the country, right? The top 20% make 50% of income. So now y'all kind of get to see why Mr. Zski, and it's funny because I kept on saying top 20%. I've been saying that way before I ever watched this video. Because I don't know, it's almost innate to know, like, that's the delineating line between the most people and kind of somewhat kind of how we live in, right? In a general sense, and like when you start getting to that upper tier, right? In top 20%, that's not still, you still not balling by any means, right? You still got a budget if your family is bringing home 100, was it $106,000 a year? Let's say around there, 106, 110, maybe even 120. You still, that doesn't mean you still get to do whatever you want, however you want financially. But it is a far cry away from then the median household income that's somewhere around 67-ish thousand dollars a year, right? Let's say less than $70,000 a year, right? Like GC said, 80-20, 80-20 rule, let go, right? Exactly. Exactly. Like it's seeming more like life is a complete 80-20 rule. Right? So it's not even the 80-20 rule that we talk about when we talk about the women and who's really piping out here. Right? It's like life is pretty much an 80-20 rule. Right? So let me go back to that video. Hopefully you guys can see it, and let's finish the last little bit of segment that she was talking about.
Credit card debt. 62% have mortgage debt. 44% have an auto loan, and 27% lease their vehicle. So just because the people around you look incredibly wealthy or look like high income earners, that may not be the case. They could just be heavily financing their lifestyle.
Heavily financing their lifestyle. Like I said. Oh, let's shout out super chats first. First of all, thank you, Raj Report. Raj, hey, Raj be staying on my ass, y'all. Raj is whoever got Raj as a big brother or uncle, man, you winning. You're winning. Yeah, he's gonna point you in the right direction, right? Hubert, thank you again. Hubert said, love the work. I know he meant to say love the work. Love the work, Mr. Z. Thank you for your good work and information. Thank you, right? Because I just like, okay, I this is I told you guys why I'm doing this, but you know, if we hope to salvage whatever is left of this black community in America, especially, right? And that's for all of us that are here now, because for those of you that don't know, Mr. Z is not ADOS, I'm Haitian descent, but I'm here now, right? And so for all of us that are here and we're planning on staying here in the US, for us to salvage, right, whatever is left of this black community, it's good that the Black Manosphere is having a conversation about grievances, right? And past events and what's going on. I think we need to do that not just when it comes to the relationship sphere, right? And have a more accurate understanding of what's going on in the environment. That way, right, we can then go forward in a direction that's most advantageous to most black people, right? So when you hear me debating, when you hear me having these conversations with different brothers, when you hear some of the statements I'm making, I'm saying for the people that are hoping to rebuild whatever this is that in the black community, if there is going to be a black community in the future, which direction would be most advantageous to the majority of those people? Not the people that don't want to come along, not the people that said, hey, peace, I'm out. Not the divestors or swirlers, not those people, not the brothers that said, "Hey, I'm done with this. I'm throwing my hands up." I'm talking about people that want to see something good come out of this community, right? That so I'm speaking in a kind of a majoritarian way, right? And so that's why I do the work I do, or sound the way I sound, or speak the way I speak about these things. It's not some weird social justice warrior thing, and it's definitely not me just sounding like this just to sound like this, right? So let's continue. This young lady is giving us some good information. Top 20% is something like $106,000. I think the wealth was what 173 or something. So let's just say 175, $175,000. That's not that's not bad. Let's be honest. I mean, obviously the bottom 80 don't got it. And I I'm actually glad that she said what she said at the end. And maybe you guys didn't get it because I kind of paused in the middle of what she was saying. There's a lot of misconceptions about money in America, generally speaking. That's not even just exclusive to black people, because we have a hard time really coping or grasping with the fact that people don't got it the way you think they got it. That's why Mr. Z be stressing to y'all like 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, right? 60% of Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency. Like, don't don't get it misconstrued just because you see some of your neighbors driving nice cars and their home looks nice. Once again, they're financing things, or you never know what mom and dad might have left them. But from my understanding, um, that's only something like 50 to 75,000, right? Being left for children and stuff like that. So like people, we might have a misunderstanding of money. I put in my community tab if you guys want to check. I want to say maybe about a week ago or now. Um, Something like 56 million people on the planet are millionaires. So remember, you're working on close to 8 billion people on the planet, right? And about 56 million people are millionaires on the planet, not in America, on the planet, right? Also remember, um, with that 8 billion people on the planet, from what's reported, about 2,700 people are billionaires, somewhere between 27 and 28. We could even say 3,000. We could say a bunch of these people were ducking and dodging Forbes and they don't want to give no information, and there's some super big time um um dope boy in South America that they're not counting. You could add all of that. Let's double it and say it's 6,000 people. That's still nothing. Let's say half of the people are ducking, right? And it's 6,000 billionaires on the planet. Even if it was 6,000 out of 8 billion people, that's nothing, right? But yet these people are the ones that dictate how a bunch of us live and how things go. And they, once again, they got the ears of presidents. And, every once in a while they do become president. Shout out to Trump, right? So these are things to think about when we think about money and wealth, right? You know, um, and there's been other things that I've covered that show like how much the houses that you see on TV shows that purported to be kind of solidly middle class, how much those houses actually cost, right? And those houses were super dumb, like expensive, right? Some of these homes from our childhood, from the 80s and the 90s, some of these homes were $800,000 in the 80s, right? Some of these homes were $800,000 in the 80s. I think I saw something that said like the houses off of Blackish, that neighborhood where Blackish shows the front of the house, were like $2+ million homes. It's crazy, right? Um, GC, I'm gonna answer that question after I played a couple of more clips. That's a really good question. I already have my answer, but I don't want to give it up until after we play a couple more clips. Good question. GC trying to throw me off my game. It's not gonna happen today, sir. Not gonna happen. But okay, let's continue with this. I want to show you guys from here. Okay, so let's see something. All right, so let's start that from there. All right, you guys, give me 1 second because I want to start it from here. All right, here we
on
go.
your day job. Next up, we have the top 5%. To be in the top 5%, you need a net worth of roughly $2.6 million and an annual household income of $343,000. You might notice here that the net worth and the income double going from the top 10% to the top 5%, and those are some pretty big leaps. In the world of finance, your income is often referred to as your shovel, and the bigger your shovel, the more you can accomplish, the more wealth you can create. It's easier to build up a 7-figure net worth if you have a higher annual income. It's likely that your living expenses are met with a smaller percentage of your income, leaving you with a greater percentage to save and invest. So one would think that if your annual household income is around $350,000, like it is for those in the top 5%, that it would be pretty easy to save and invest. And for most, it is. Now, of course, it is still possible to inflate one's lifestyle that you actually outspend yourself and leave yourself with nothing, no matter what your income level. Think about all those athletes and those actors that you hear about going broke. In some instances, it seems absolutely unfathomable. But lifestyle creep is real, no matter what your income level. And as far as a net worth of $2.5 million, I know I'm going to get slaughtered in the comments for this, but I actually think this is a realistic net worth to aim for many American households, as long as you're a diligent investor. As long as you start young, you invest regularly, you keep your lifestyle in check, there's no reason the typical American household wouldn't be able to generate this type of wealth by the time they reach retirement. And we reach the top 1%. To be in the top 1%, you need a net worth of over $11 million and an annual household income of $824,000. Those are some big figures. Net worth here has increased 9-fold and income has increased 5-fold when we look at going from the top 10% to being in the top 1%. The 1% is definitely an exclusive club. I look at this bracket as being absolutely financially free. Now, of course, you can achieve financial freedom at a much lower number. For most of us, our financial independence number is not $11 million. But all I'm saying is that if you have a net worth of $11 million and an annual income of $800,000, it's likely that finances aren't a huge concern for you. It's likely that many of the choices you make when it comes to money don't really move the needle all that much. If you spend a little more, spend a little less, it doesn't really matter. If you find a way to boost your income $50,000, it's probably not going to impact how you live your life. Likewise, if you bring your net worth from $11 million to $12 million, it's probably not going to impact your life all that much, other than your bank statement now reflects a higher number. The life that the ultra-wealthy 1% can afford and often live is quite unimaginable to the typical everyday American. As of 2021, the top 1% control $36.2 trillion of wealth, whereas the middle 60% of Americans control $35.7 trillion of wealth. So that means the top 1% has more wealth than the entire middle class of America. Some fun.
Okay, that's the part I wanted everybody to hear. All right, so top 1% controls more than the entire middle class, right? So when you think about that, right? Because I've been mulling this over. I've known for over a decade now. Something along those lines, right? I've known that number. And it's something you put in the back of your mind because obviously you're not the top 1%. And when I was doing the research and looking for things like this, I I remember hearing this again, and it's like it hit me again, like when I first heard it the first time, right? And I just remember thinking to myself, the top 1% controls the same amount of wealth as the whole entire middle class. And what do everyday average working class people do, right? Because like, you know, grown up as a black man, you think about wealth, right? And especially when you grew up listening to hip hop and rap music, you, especially for those of you that are maybe around my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, I'm in my mid 30s, right? You just remember seeing a lot of television shows just hammering you over the head with the concepts of like upward mobility, money, 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 this big time thing. And some of those things weren't actually bad. Some of us got to where we are because those it, consuming that type of entertainment gave you something to aspire to, right? And so it wasn't all bad. But then what was kind of bad was some of the delusion that came from that, and then us not understanding wealth so well because of some of these things that we were consuming, right? The like I said, like when we think about $70,000, and then people were like, "Ugh," to $70,000, right? Meanwhile, you don't realize like you're in the top, you're in the top 20% actually, give or take around there, depending on where you live. Obviously, like the young lady was saying, to be in the top 20 in San Fran, you got to be somewhere around $240,000 a year, which is insane, right? But once again, from my understanding, we're in the Bay Area when we're in San Francisco, right? Compared to Detroit, where it really is about 71. So let's say 75, let's be $75,000 a year, right? And so look at the huge gap, right? But once again, and that's what, that huge gap, but give or take, that top 20% is still how much more than everybody else, right? Even at 70 grand, when you're looking at a median income in the country that's around what, 33, $34,000, you still double everyone else. So give or take. So what we're seeing is that to be in the top 20%, you have to be, give or take, double the median, right? And yet we have black people speaking whimsically about money. And like me knowing the overall income data in America, I'm I continuously get shocked, and I shouldn't be, but I continuously get shocked listening to other black people talk about money, namely black women talk about money. I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What are you saying? My man got to be a millionaire, right? I'm looking for a billionaire. What? Right? Do you even know how rare these things are? And I know people don't know. I know people don't know, right? So let's continue. What's the next clip? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, Mr. Z, get the next clip ready for you guys. All right. So let me make sure that I get y'all right. All right. Yeah. So let's get to the next clip, and I will pause right there, and we'll speak about it on the back end. And no, GC, I did not forget your question. All right. Okay.
Apps to organize contract workers who can make all your dreams come true for cheap. Yet those promises have become more suspect as consumers face longer wait times and higher costs for services. This all has us wondering, was the gig economy a farce built on an unsustainable financial model? Why are some of the most successful gig startups struggling? How has it become such a dominant force in American labor, even as its flagship companies continue to tank? Well, let's find out in this wisecrack edition on the gig economy.
Okay, so that was that intro, and I want to start it from right about here. All right, let's see. I want y'all to hear this.
My little rideshare anecdote, as you know, is becoming the norm. As Derek Thompson's recent piece in The Atlantic put it, something beyond rising energy and labor costs is leading to sticker shock on once cheap urban amenities. Clearly, something has changed since Airbnb first hit the scene in 2008. This was the perfect moment for the gig economy to make its grand debut, as the US was reeling from the Great Recession. The unemployment rate had doubled, and other workers faced furloughs and reduced hours. This made alternatives to classic employment seem quite appealing, like a potential safety net. As economist Juliet Shore writes in After the Gig, in the years following 2008, people came to believe that digital technology could solve the problem of work. The thinking went that algorithms and crowdsourcing could do the work of bosses, while software could reorganize economic activity into a person-to-person structure. In this way, she notes that this empowers individuals to take control of their lives. Vast swaths of the economy, especially in service, are ripe for this transformation. This vision came to be called the sharing economy.
Okay. So y'all can see what's leading to this, right? Where this is going, right? We the old quote, we would privatize profits and we socialize risk or something like that. And yeah. Right? So I mean it is like this little cutesy one-liner that lefties use, but it's actually pretty damn true, right? It's actually pretty damn true. And the gig economy to me is grabbing for straws when it comes to profit, right? Grabbing for straws when it comes to profit. And once again, this is what I should have said this in the beginning. This is what I want people to kind of have playing in the back of their mind. And how does this affect Black people, right? So everything this disease says, just think to yourself, well, how does this affect Black people? And for us in the Black manosphere, really, how does this affect Black men? Because if we're going to talk about precarity, that's us, right? Not all, right? But a significant amount, a disproportionate amount of Black men, right? Black people in general, but Black men specifically, right? Just have that playing in your mind. And how does this affect Black people? And how does this affect Black people, right? So we're living through the time of like gig jobs, which are like a little slick, sly way of like not paying people a certain amount, not having to have employee protections for certain people. And how does this affect what I was originally saying with the money, right? I said this on Roger's show, and this is another reason why I'm doing this today. They got it because you don't got it, right? You don't have it because they have it, right? And I said that, and I don't know if a lot of people really heard me say that or if they really understood what I was saying, right? And there's a difference between a pyramid scheme and a zero-sum game. Now, is this system a complete zero-sum game? No, obviously, because we would be like, most of us would be complete destitute if it was a complete zero-sum game. But it is a pyramid scheme, and it's getting more steep, right? It's getting more steep, and I think that's what these type of things are showing more and more, right? So let's continue with the rest of this, and hopefully you guys still hear me and everything's good to go. Let's continue. So I'm gonna share this again, and y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, and let's keep going.
Note that we're going to focus on the United States, and we're going by scholar Luigi Zingale's definition of the gig economy as any time you have a digital platform that coordinates a large amount of people doing a job. It's the case of Uber, it's the case of Lyft, it's the case of Airbnb, it's the case of Fiverr, it's the case of the Mechanical Turks on Amazon. And this model changed the very idea of what labor could be. It seemed to offer freedom and flexibility without compromising wages via the magic of part-time or gig-based work. For folks without spare rooms to rent out, Uber launched in 2009, followed by Fiverr in 2010, Rover in 2011, Instacart in 2012, and beyond. There was a gig for seemingly every skill set, whether your specialty was picking the ripest avocado, bagging the of a stranger's dog, or copy editing somebody's novel. Plus, you could hypothetically make your own hours and be your own boss, with your earning potential limited only by your willingness to work hard. This caught on fast. By 2016, the Pew Research Center found that nearly 25% of American adults were making money from gig apps. And the startup founders behind the apps preached the gospel of Silicon
25%
Valley
of Americans.
utopianism, promising staggering innovation. Like Uber's grand plans for self-driving cars, or Amazon delivering your year's supply of floss by drone. It would be a brand new economy.
So I just have to stress that, right? 25% of Americans were doing some type of gig jobs. That's a quarter of Americans, y'all. Right? Doing some type of gig work. Like, if you don't see it as a concern, I get it, right? But what I see, what Mr. Z see is concerning about that is that the goal most people would like to have if they're going to work, right? We're not talking about if you're trying to start your own business or something like that. If they're going to work, the gold standard is something around 32 to 40 hours a week, right? Weekends off. That's the gold standard, right? That's like that's what, if you ask Americans that are working, like, not if you win the lottery, not if you marry somebody rich, but if right, if you have to work, if you have to work some type of job, what would be your gold standard? And it would be something along those lines, right? For many of us to be working a 9 to 5 and then a gig on top of that, right? And for a quarter of us, that's not those of us with a second job. That's particularly the gig economy, right? And then there's some of us that are only doing gig jobs. But for a quarter of Americans to be doing some type of gig work, I think we've done a really horrendous job. And even I'm now trying to catch up more and more on like labor rights movements and unionizing movements and stuff like that. And why does this matter to me as a Black man in the Black manosphere? Because I understand that a lot of what's going on in the background is pushing some of the rhetoric coming from everyone, right? Some of that struggle financially is pushing the rhetoric coming from everyone, right? That precarity, that checking your bank account is nothing but dust and lint in there, right? Where I've been there, right? Is pushing people to sound more like how they do now, right? Scrounging for $5 so you can get a Little Caesars $5 hot and ready. Been there, scrounging around for the McDonald's so you can buy something from the McDonald's dollar menu or the Wendy's dollar menu. Been there, right? But much of why people sound the way they do, why do they sound the way they do? Or the question then becomes, is the bottom 80% really just lazy bums? Right? Are they just lazy bums, or is it that they didn't do, air quotes, do the right things? Right? Once again, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Right? Or is there something else going on in the background? Right? And where's our line for like precarity? Right? I'm not about creating all the social welfare programs and then people get to sit on their ass and not work and then still live a pretty good and comfortable life. That's not what Mr. Z is advocating. What I am asking is, where's the line for us where we're not comfortable seeing these people in this position? Particularly for Black people, for us as Black men that's part of this space. Where's the line where you're like, okay, I don't want to see people suffer that much, right? That's a question that I think everyone has to ask themselves as an individual, but then also as a larger society, right? Spain Man, what's going on? Spain Man said, big and tasty and small fry for $2.50 held me down at one point in my life. Cup of water, oops, Sprite. You got to. Who didn't do that? Who didn't do that? And let me also read GC's comment. He said slave labor force. Which, what's crazy about what you just said, GC, also is it almost sounds like a space force, right? It almost sounds like a fighting force, right? The slave labor force, like we put on our suits and go fight crime, right? But yeah, man, like that it. This is why I'm sharing this today, because I wanted us to have this type of conversation. And once again, when people talk money, right? I don't know if they really know what they're talking about. And this is what I've been stressing. That's why I played the clip where the young lady was going through top 1%, which was with 2 million and something. Was it 2.5 million dollars wealth, right? That's crazy. And to be in the top 20%, all you needed was 173. So let's say 175 wealth, right? That's all you needed to be in the top 20%. Now she did show how that top 20% varies wildly from place to place in America. Once again, it was what pretty much 240,000 in the Bay Area, in that San Francisco Bay Area, and then it was 71,000 in Detroit. But still, that's the top 20%, right? That's the country. You're sharing a country with these people, right? So, and for me, it's been a pretty difficult ride, especially over the past decade, speaking to people, namely Black people, about their ideas of wealth and power and wealth acquisition, because you don't want to kill their dream, right? And like Mr. Z will talk to y'all like this online, but in person, it was difficult to pull yourself back from saying, like, what are you talking about, right? I used this example before. I'll use it again. When people were speaking about Bugattis, like they were like Toyota Corollas, right? And you just used to look at people like, what are you talking about? Do you even know how rare this thing is, right? And it's like, no, they don't, right? They don't know how rare it is, and and you that I did crush a couple dreams with that. I'm sorry, y'all, I couldn't do it, right? I couldn't just let that go, right? But yeah, that I definitely did crush a couple of dreams with, because I knew that these people didn't know what they were talking about, right? You could have a Bugatti Veyron, right? Do you even know how rare they are? It was like 500 and something. Last time I checked, I think it was like 500 and something Bugatti Veyrons ever made. Not your 300,000 in a year Corolla, right? And I'm not saying that to chastise anybody with one of these type of cars, but it is to say that gives you an idea of exclusivity in how rare certain things are, right? I even had to realize that, searching, for those of you that know about my car, my 300ZX, I even had to realize that, so researching for one, right? Because this is my third one, like I told you guys. And I never knew how rare they were until I started looking for it again, right? Now that I'm more mature, now that I know I'm not gonna be driving it every day, I'm not gonna be driving it too far. And then you realize, I looked it up and it was like 90,000 sent to the US between 89 and 96. And then for the twin turbo model in particular, 18,274 over a 7-year span, right? 18,000. Now, you got to remember, you're talking about a car that's over 20 years old, so we don't know how many of them are totaled. We don't know how many of them are in a garage under, under some sheets, and that person's never selling, right? And they drive it once a month, right? We're not talking about those. So you could cut that 18,000 down to probably at this point 17 and some change, maybe even 16 and some change, right? So that gives you an idea of exclusivity. And I don't know if we understand that as a nation. That's not exclusive to Black people, but as a nation, when we talk about money and climbing up that ladder and how steep it is, right? And how rare these things are. I'll say this again, and I'll probably bring it up a few more times tonight. 56 millionaires on the entire planet. Now, is Mr. Z anti-money? Of course not. I mean, like, I literally had to spend money to get my dream car, right? Mr. Z is not anti-money. Mr. Z is not anti-people making money. Mr. Z is not anti-nice stuff, obviously, right? What I am saying is that we're not being honest about the financial landscape, and then it's causing many of us and our children and our siblings and our parents and our loved ones and relatives to sound crazy, to be delusional, and then the hurt and the pain that comes from not achieving certain things, right? And that doesn't mean that there's not something for you to aspire to. I'm not even trying to tell you to be, air quotes, a little bit more realistic, but I'm kind of trying to tell you to be a little bit more realistic, right? If your goal is to be a billionaire, that's not a bad thing. But like we were having a conversation on the Roger Report, what does it take to get there? Not all the nice and cutesy stuff. What does it take to be part of that club? And we're not just talking about stepping on people's heads. What does it take financially, right? Can you be a billionaire without taking wealth from other people? Does that exist? Is there an, air quotes, friendly neighborhood billionaire? What does that even look like? Right? So things like that inspired me to make this video today, is the concept of wealth, right? That I think a lot of us kind of have a very, like I said earlier, whimsical understanding of. And it's not about telling you not to. Mr. Z literally is like, like I said, working 65 hours a week. And, you know, I'm also trying to achieve certain goals and dreams that have to do with money, that have to do with making more, right? But I do have a problem with when we talk about these things, and then you ask people and they don't even think that you could be, because I think you could be a millionaire without stepping on people necessarily. I think maybe even you can get into maybe $10 million without stepping on people. But if you start working on some $100 million plus, you ain't step on nobody undeservingly. I'm not talking about your competition. I'm not talking about you outbidded somebody else for a contract or something. No, I'm saying you knowingly and purposely stepped on innocent smaller people. You either screwed them out of a deal, you turned a blind eye to something. That's what I'm speaking to, right? And that exists, right? So let's pause right here. Let's play the other clip. Let me see what we had left. Yeah. We didn't finish that. So I'm gonna bring it back a little bit, and then we're gonna play the rest of that. And y'all go ahead, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, and let me know what y'all think in the comments. All right. Okay, let's keep on going. Let's bring this back just a smidge. Oh yeah, because that was a really good part. Okay, here we go.
Only by your willingness to work hard. This caught on fast. By 2016, the Pew Research Center found that nearly 25% of American adults were making money from gig apps. And the startup founders behind the apps preached the gospel of Silicon Valley utopianism, promising staggering innovation. Like Uber's grand plans for self-driving cars, or Amazon delivering your year's supply of floss by drone. It would be a brand new economy. At first, it seemed to be working. That is, if you didn't follow the money. If you're paying $7 for that ride, how is your Uber driver making a living wage? Well, A, they probably weren't, and B, the baffling bankroll was thanks to venture capitalists who allowed gig economy apps to operate at a loss. This was based on the assumption that in the future, when they've cornered the market on, say, self-driving cars, that's when they'll really see a profit. In the meantime, people got used to the idea of $7 rides. As Thompson writes, for the past decade, people like me, youngish, urbanish, professionalish, got a sweetheart deal from Uber, the Uber for X clones that vaguely pretended to be tech companies. Almost each time you or I ordered a pizza or hailed a taxi, the company behind that app lost money. In effect, these startups backed by venture capital were paying us, the consumers, to buy their products. But are those glory days over if consumers are no longer getting too good to be true prices? Because the gig economy is always run on underpaid labor.
So why am I sharing this part? Why is this part important? So I wanted people to see that these people were operating at a loss. So this I knew. I've actually said that on I think either BGS's channel or Charles' channel, whoever. So I've known this for years, right? That they were operating at a loss. And I think even Amazon was operating at a loss up until recently, right? So like they're operating at a loss. And how many of us can do that for years? Who, I don't know, has the credit line or whatever to operate at a loss for the hopes that one day you will corner the market, right? In whatever it is you're doing, whatever endeavor it is you're doing, and then you will turn up a profit. And you will turn such a profit that your investors or whoever's bankrolling you is okay with throwing money at you for 2, 5, 10 years. You're operating at a loss, right? Uber's what, a decade old now, something like that. You operating at a loss this long, right? That's crazy, right? But then also, as much as we were complaining about some of those Uber prices, in actuality, it should have actually been more expensive. Because number one, funny enough, the investors were subsidizing that. And then the fact that they weren't paying the drivers as much as they could have paid them was also helping to lower that cost. GC, that's absolutely correct. GC says, let me highlight your comment. Let's give you some shine, GC. GC says, Uber about to dump all these contract workers once self-driving shit is fully operational. And that was the goal. And they said it like pretty much, yeah. If they didn't say it already, they're gonna say it later on. That was the goal. That was so now that I didn't necessarily know was the goal until I remember, was it Uber or was it, yeah, I think it was Uber who had the self-driving car, the self-driving vehicle that ended up hitting someone. I think the person cut in front of it. I think it was a person on a bike or something like that. So like, yeah, so that I didn't realize until that happened. And then I remember thinking about it and then seeing something that kind of snapped me into, oh, the goal is to corner the market and pretty much when self-driving comes, drop all these people, right? And you would have already got people used to not hailing a taxi and kind of ordering their ride through apps, right? So that's crazy and sad and depressing, right? But once again, I mean, as automation comes in, once again, then what are your normal regular person supposed to do? Yes, Spain man, that's true too. Spain man said truck drivers too. Yeah, I think, but the truck driving is going to be a little bit more difficult because I'm if I don't want to put words into any truck driver's mouth. Y'all let me know if I'm yes, Art New Style. Thank you. Let's share Art. Art got some wisdom for y'all. All right, Art got some wisdom for y'all. Hit them likes exactly. Shout out to Art New Style. Switzerland over there on Art New Style's channel. But I think Spain Man is going to be a little bit more difficult to automate trucks because you remember trucks are hauling 60, 70, 80,000 pounds, bro. Right? They're like that's way more difficult than operating a 4,000-pound car with 3 or 4 occupants. Let's say at most that car is weight coming in tipping the scales at 5,000 pounds. Let's say you operating a big ass vehicle that the vehicle is 6,000 pounds, and then you got people in there. So let's say you're operating a vehicle that's at most 6,500, 7,000 pounds. That's different than operating a vehicle that's 65,000 pounds, right? Yeah, that's a whole different ball game, right? I see we getting people coming in now. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. And for the more recent people coming in, what's going on? AB Media 83. We're just talking about money. We're talking about the environment that's helping to cause people to sound the way they sound, right? That's some of our brothers. That's definitely the sisters, right? That is what is going on in the background with money, with the struggle, with precarity, that's causing people to sound the way they sound. So I've played a couple of clips already about wealth distribution in America and what it takes to be part of the top 20%, top 5%, or top 1%. I skipped over to 10% because it actually showed in part of the clip with the top 5. Charles is in here, y'all, the great Charles Faulkner. Charles did a really masterful job on covering inflation on his channel a few months ago, and showing the difference between what he made and what he makes, and and how much a house is now in his area compared to what his father was making years and years and years ago. So yeah. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Money and the effect of money. I'm gonna try to let you guys on a little bit. But remember, Mr. Z doesn't have the 10 people StreamYards yet. Mr. Z got the 6 people StreamYards yet. Or I mean StreamYard. So I'm gonna probably have to cycle people in and out when I finally let people on. Let's read AB's comment. AB said, automating trucks is going to be very difficult because they drive everywhere and everything. Exactly. No, seriously, exactly. Lumber. And then you gotta remember too, like, I have family members and relatives that are truck drivers. Driving in a straight line on a level road is one thing, right? It's still difficult, but that's one thing. Driving uphill is another thing. Driving downhill. Ask truck drivers about driving downhill with a heavy load, right? Then you also have to think about when the trailer actually has things in it and when it doesn't have anything in it, right? From my understanding, truck drivers will tell you it's different in how the truck sways when it's pinned down with a lot of weight. And right, I'm blackity black, y'all. Charles Faulkner. Let's highlight Charles Faulkner, right? How did I not highlight Raj in them earlier? I'm sorry, Raj. I'm sorry to everybody. I did not highlight your super chats earlier. It's part of the game, right? But yeah. So that's what we're talking about today. The money environment, right? What's going on in the environment that's causing people to sound, and excuse my language, if y'all got kids around y'all, I'm about to use some profanity because I gotta stress this. What's causing people to sound fuck nuts? Right? And that'll probably be the only profanity today. Maybe I'm gonna give y'all a warning because Mr. Z can speak without cursing, but sometimes you just gotta add that little pepper, right? That little spice in your language, right? And what you're saying. Yeah. So AB says driving uphill, driving up and down mountains with a heavy load, Yeah, exactly. So that is definitely true. That is definitely true. Right? Yeah. So, and Tyler Jacob says they use limit switches when operating movable bridges. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to stress, right? So let's continue. What else did I have coming up? Let's see. I might move it back a little bit because I want some of you guys to hear some of the things. Oh, so I don't want to trick anybody or whatever. I don't want anybody to feel like Mr. Z's trying to convince you of anything. A lot of what I'm covering is going to be coming from a lefty perspective. I'm not pushing a lefty perspective, but this is most of the stuff that I watch when I'm not in the Black Manosphere. But I want y'all to get the data and the information from this. So I don't care whether you align with me politically or align with any of these people. And by the way, I don't even fully align with some of the people that I'm showing, right? But I just want you to get the information. You can do it with what you will, but as long as you have the information, and then we can have a conversation and even a debate about where we go from here. But at least if we have a baseline understanding of what this is, right? So this is a not postmodern conversation. We actually want definitions over here, right? And we agree on what a word is. And what words are, and what a color is, and what a table is, right? So that's why I'm kind of giving us a baseline information, right? So once again, like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat, and we're gonna continue because yeah. And this video is definitely getting demonetized because I'm sharing other people's YouTube shit because I think they just, it would have been me doubling back. They're presenting these things pretty damn well, right? And I think it's important to get the information out. So I mean, if this should get demonetized, then so be it. But oh, Taylor Jacobson, my bad for the my bad for off tangent. No, it's so cool. It's okay. We do that, right? I just did it. So yeah, so let's continue. Okay. And let me share this real quick. So that we could have
of $7 rides. As Thompson writes, for the past decade, people like me, youngish, urbanish, professionalish, got a sweetheart deal from Uber, the Uber for X clones that vaguely pretended to be tech companies. Almost each time you or I ordered a pizza or hailed a taxi, the company behind that app lost money. In effect, these startups backed by venture capital were paying us, the consumers, to buy their products. But are those glory days over if consumers are no longer getting too good to be true prices? Because the gig economy is always run on underpaid labor. And to understand this, we need to contextualize where gig work as we know it came from. As scholar Louis Hyman explains, the decades following the New Deal witnessed the golden age of stable, long-term employment when union membership was skyrocketing and companies competing for top talent started offering things like generous wages and employer-based healthcare. But after the economic boom in the 1950s, corporate structures started to change. At the top, short-term consultants started replacing executives, while at the bottom, union workers were replaced by cheaper day laborers. And while these moves helped businesses seem lean and therefore more profitable, this also decreased job security. This, as Hyman argues, was indicative of a sea change in how corporations function. They went from primarily trying to minimize risk to primarily trying to maximize profits. It wasn't about keeping your family company running and making quality goods for decades. It was about making bank today. And this was a whole new way of looking at business. The risk-taking entrepreneur thus became the capitalist ideal. And in pursuit of standalone, unabashed profits, short-term returns became the new goal. And one way to make sure your quarterly ROI looks shiny and efficient is to hire flexible laborers who take up less of your operating costs overall. The tech industry of the 70s and 80s relied on this business model. Short-term investments partnered with flexible production to great growth and success. It also, as Hyman points out, relied upon the use of undocumented labor at an industrial scale by the way of subcontractors, who were paid on a per-project basis. The rise of the internet would greatly influence how work is sourced and conducted, making it even easier to source temp workers via Craigslist or apps. No agency necessary. These workers would be known as independent contractors. There are big benefits to digitally sourcing contractors, as Jamie Woodcock and Mark Graham explain in their book, The Gig Economy. For one, it adds a layer of invisibility and isolation that obscures the people doing the work. It's hard to know how many colleagues you have at TaskRabbit, after all, if there is no way to communicate with them. And for many...
So we're going to pause right there. That was the goal in the first place, right? That was the goal in the first place. And, you know, I think these people found an ingenious way of like taking back all of the labor rights movement and all that stuff from like the late 20th century, the late 19th century and the early 20th century, right? They found ways to take it all back. And I think GC, let me see if I could. There's my girl showing me how to do this, and I don't remember how to do it. But I'm trying to show what GC's comment. GC said it earlier. What you said? Slave labor force, GC? Yes. That's exactly what it is. Right? So the slave labor is essentially, right? And then once again, remember the question we're asking ourselves in the back of our minds every time we see this. And how does this affect Black people, particularly Black men? Right? How does this affect Black people, particularly Black men? And then what does that mean for your intimate and dating life? And I'm gonna play something after these clips that's gonna speak to that. As a matter of fact, I might do that in a little bit. That speak to that. Who is getting married? Who's staying married? Which we've had conversations about anyway. But then there's data to back up more and more what we're saying. And is the society ready for this? Right? You know, I don't want to say the brother's name. A very well respected elder in the space, and we've had this conversation about, yeah, this could look ugly real fast, real quick, right? Because to maintain a society, not only can the wealth disparity not get too crazy, but the benefits of that wealth disparity, right, can't get too crazy. And now we do live in a time where a lot of uber wealthy and rich and even upper middle class people are showing you their life, right, online, on the internet. And so it almost feels like they're your next door neighbor, just showing off every day. And then what does that do to the to the bottom 80% psychologically, right? And can you maintain a society not only with the wealth disparity, not only with the accoutrement that come from that wealth disparity, but then the people on top showing it off all day, every day, right? Showing off that nice restaurant, that car, that house, telling you about their children's private school, right? And then hitting you with some BS aspirational talk, right? Can you maintain a society like that? Once again, and then what does that mean for black people, right? And black men in particular, right? So we're gonna try to keep that in our mind as we go on. So I'm gonna play the rest of this, and then I want to play something else that speaks to exactly what I was speaking to. Um, give me a second, y'all. Right.
Many of these apps, the sheer number of willing contractors has created an oversupply of labor. Woodcock and Graham write, as a result of this oversupply, individual workers have very little power to negotiate wages or working conditions, which is why workers way back when started forming unions to begin with. But unionizing is virtually impossible for today's gig workers, because to form a union, you have to be an employee. And people who work for Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, Airbnb, and so on are not actually employees. This may sound like a technicality, but it's essential to the way these companies function. Unsurprisingly, when faced with a 2020 California ballot initiative, Prop 22, which would exempt companies like Uber from a state law that would have required these companies to treat workers like formal employees, DoorDash, Lyft, Uber, Instacart, and Postmates spent $204 million on a publicity campaign supporting it. See, if somebody is your employee, you're obligated to provide things like overtime, bargaining rights, and healthcare. According to the Seattle Times, classifying your workforce as independent contractors instead can save companies 30% or more on labor costs. And for companies that were definitely not all making 30%. Profit, this would have made their tenuous situations even more slippery. In the end, nearly 60% of voters agreed that all the bells and whistles of formal employment were unnecessary, especially if it jacked up prices on services they had come to rely on. The sheer amount of money poured into this campaign made Prop 22 the most expensive ballot initiative in U.S. history, and arguably, it paid off. Except not for workers, though. Definitely didn't pay off for them. In this way, we can see the gig economy as being emblematic of a bigger shift in the power of labor. As sociologist Alexandria Ravenel concluded, for all its app-enabled modernity, the gig economy resembles the early industrial age. The sharing economy is truly a movement forward to the past. That is, a past before workers had all the protections they gained through striking and organizing since the 19th century and through the protections of the New Deal. Now,
So, that I wanted to stress that 30%, if they can move you from an employee to a private contractor, they're saving somewhere around 30%. Insane. That is crazy, right? So, I mean, that puts, if you're gonna play that game, and this goes to what Black Uru was saying on the Rudge Report, right? If you're gonna play that game, and this is, by the way, when we talk about stealing wealth, because it's not like the wealthy people are coming in and they knocking you upside the head and then running out the back door with your money. No, they're doing stuff like this and colluding with certain politicians, probably, once again, allegedly, right? And getting you declassified from an employee or getting you classified from an employee to a contract worker. That way, once again, there's no real recourse if something goes wrong. You get nothing. You get nothing. That's number one. So that's before we get into healthcare and all that other stuff. Then you got to think about they're saving 30%. just off of kicking you off for being an employee and making you a contract worker, right? And the question then becomes for Black people, Black men, would you do it? And then would you do it knowing what that would lead to in the overall society, right? And then knowing Black people's position, namely Black men's position in this society, would you do this? If you were a Fortune 500 CEO, right? And you had the ability to decide, right? Would you say, yeah, let's classify as little people as employees as humanly possible, right? See that catch? You see these other brothers that were on that particular show, they do have a point. Some of these things aren't black and white; they're very gray, right? Yeah. So if you Aquateki says if you don't get a W-2, you're not an employee. And he also says 1099 employees. Exactly. Exactly. And then Aquateki also says businesses don't have to pay Social Security tax, healthcare, etc., for 1099 contractors. Exact. And that's my point. And that's my point. That's exactly what I was speaking to. Yes. Thank you, Aquateki. Yes, that's exactly what I was speaking to. Right? Uh-oh. Black man swimming. Right? It says ethics versus economics. Exactly. Which I didn't take this class in college, but maybe one of you brothers did. What was it? Business ethics, I think it was the name of the class, right? And I remember thinking to myself when I saw that title, I remember thinking to myself like, what? what what is that? Like, what is business ethics? Right? Don't even make any sense. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? Black Uru, thanks for coming in. Great show tonight, Z. Very proud of you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting compliments from an elder, y'all. It means a lot. I'm not joking, right? And we're gonna keep that up there for a little while, right? We're gonna keep that up there for a few minutes. But yeah, man, like, so this is why I do what I do and I sound the way I sound. I really mean it. Like, yo, like I've campaigned for local politicians, like right? I really was in the hot sun, burning, right? Knocking on doors, right? I really am, and like I'm coming, after doing that and after seeing certain things and hearing certain things, um, I really think that we're in a very weird place. That if we don't get it together, I think technologically, the future for the world technologically is going to be beautiful. It is going to be all those cool ass movies that we've seen since the 80s, right? All of that, right? But socially, now that's where I get afraid because I really do think if we don't get this kind of money economic situation together, it will be a social dystopia. And the people that will be able to live the greatest of lives are that top 20% or so. And they should, right? If you did that much, if you work that hard, you should live a little bit better than everyone else. That's not a problem. That's not the issue. The issue is how big is that gap going to get? And then how much power and influence are you going to have because of that gap? Right? How that's the question. And then once again, remember in the back of your mind here, everyone, then what does that mean for black people, namely black men? Right? Joe Bentley said, I just want a transporter and a warp drive just like Star Trek. Right? Do you want a DeLorean too? Right? By the way, I don't remember what the name of it is. It is this new Hyundai or this Hyundai concept car that Hyundai's working on, and y'all need to see it. It's called the Hyundai Iconic something. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it looks so much like the DeLorean, right? so much like a modern take of a DeLorean. And I think it was this the iconic something, that Hyundai iconic something, or ionic something like that. But yeah, right. So let's continue. Do I want to show you guys this? I think the next one I should. Yeah, I'll show you guys that. Right. Kind of speak. Oh, as a matter of fact, let's do this one first. So let me put it at the right time, place, and yeah. All right. So this channel that I'm about to share, this is a pretty much a white feminist channel, right? Yes, Mr. Z does listen to the enemy. Well, y'all already know that. Right? Shout out to Charles and AB and PK and BGS, right? Who get on me for being a sadomasochist and like the pain. So yes, I listen to all type of stuff. Y'all know I'm a lefty. I listen to conservative shit too. Yes, Project 8020. Yes, the Envision 74. That y'all look that up. The Hyundai Envision 74 looks like a damn DeLorean, and it's good. It's supposedly electric. I think it has like 450 horsepower. It looks really dope, really nice. Y'all look that up. Yeah. And they even got another Hyundai sedan. And the thing with Hyundai, I gotta give it to the Koreans. They're one of the few companies that and this is a side thing, yo. I'm sorry, gotta go to the car stuff for like another 60 seconds. Not even. Hyundai cars, their concept cars, when they actually produce it, it resembles what the concept was. And that's usually not how car companies do it. They give you these out there concept cars, and then the real car looks nothing like the concept, or like a very watered down version. But Hyundai got their stuff together. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Yep. I think, was this the comment I'm looking for? Yep. Black Uber says, I think whatever benefits the wealthiest people, a cure will be short-lived. They will also be eaten by the technology, or they will be eaten by the rest of us. I can't disagree. I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Right? I agree with that 100%. You can't create a system with this kind of, I mean, like, half the reason, or much of the reason why, once again, you got to take Black people out of the conversation for this, but much of the reason why a bunch of people came to America, right, was because the system in their country had atrophied, and the wealthy people were just uber wealthy, and they did whatever they wanted to do, however they wanted to do it, and you were a pauper or a peasant. And so you came to America looking for prosperity and to obviously step on Black people and have a guaranteed floor, right? But it was also for you to prosper, because the concept, that concept of the American dream, right? We're getting back to the video I did a couple what, that was a couple weeks ago, right? That concept, right? We're getting back to that, right? And AB Media says, speaking of, no, I'm not even, no, we're yeah, what we're not gonna do today. We ain't gonna let these weirdos interrupt the very mature conversation about money and the system and society. Y'all should see the look on my face right now. It's very unbothered. Shout out to Amarion, right? So we're not gonna let the whatever that is on her head people interrupt a very good conversation about money. So let me share this, and we'll go on from here, so we could see what the hell this creates. Now, once again, y'all remember that this is a white feminist channel, so the perspectives meh, right? But the information. So recently I made a video about manifesting and how out there a lot of that stuff is, and why it's happening the way it is, not realizing that these people made a video about it also, and I'm already subscribed to them because I like to hear the perspective. This is how Mr. Z comes to y'all, like the British are coming, so this is Mr. Z. That's why I come to y'all, like, hey, this is what's going on over there on the other side of the gender divide or the sex divide. This is what they're talking about over there. Because I listen to stuff like this. I listen to a lot of stuff. I'm a YouTube junkie. I probably need to get some help. And let's continue.
They'll be rich one day.
And something a business coach shared with me at one point in time was, you don't have a money problem, you have an asking problem.
Of course, people aren't poor because they have low vibrations. People are poor because they were born into poverty. Class mobility is significantly lower in America than in Europe and other OECD countries. And income inequality is nearly as severe now as it was during the Great Depression. How could this be solved by writing things down 55 times for 5 days?
So, y'all hear that, right? Wealth inequality is nearly as bad now as it was during the Great Depression, which, by the way, helped to lead to the Great Depression. You can't have this type of wealth and income gap. It's just not sustainable, right? But and if y'all check the right side of the screen, you see Mr. Z really be watching this type of stuff. Look what's on the right side of the screen. Mr. Z don't be lying. Our consumer society, U.S. marriage rate is plummeting. Well, that's old. I've been watching that. That's how I played that for y'all a couple months ago, right? Is marriage dead? Right? The gig economy, that's what y'all just watched. Building a better society. I watched that a while ago. I'm actually gonna probably play a clip from that in a little bit. But yeah, so does he really be playing what he watching what he says he watched? Okay, so let's play this and then we'll talk about it afterward.
Hands. Putting it to work.
On one level, the explosion of manifesting among young people today, along with the rise in alternative spirituality practices like tarot, crystals, and witchcraft, speaks to a certain powerlessness and desperation. The feeling that if there's anything we could use right now, it's magic.
Every single thing I write down in my journal manifests, like it literally comes true. Like it is actual magic.
The rise and grind culture of the 2010s didn't work. Young people in America feel burned out by grueling underpaid work, unattainable housing, and rising costs of living.
Why you working so hard? The world is ending. Yay!
Skepticism towards governments, religious institutions, and our capitalist system is leading millennials and Gen Zers to turn inward and embrace spirituality. It's a way to escape modern tech and pandemic-induced loneliness and connect with.
So, as I said before, and I said it, and then I watched this, and then they said it, right? And I've been saying it all around. Trail Bentley, bro. It's magic. People are struggling, so we grabbing at just anything. Just God, please, something, right? And that's what it really is. People are like breaking, right? And I get it. I'm a millennial. I get it, right? We're like in this weird zone between boomers and Xers, and then Gen Z and Alpha, and like automation and all these things are happening, like around us, and we're like, wait, what are we supposed to do? We're like, wait, we were taught this way, kind of, sort of, and then like this thing started happening like as we were growing. So what are we supposed to do? And so people are breaking, and then Gen Z, I would like to talk to more young people to see even how they're dealing with like. But the oldest of Gen Z already 25 years old, 24, something like that. So like graduating into the COVID economy. Oh my God. Right? Graduating college and high school into the COVID economy. That must be insane. Right? Because for us as millennials, the oldest of us graduated into the dot-com bubble, right? The oldest of us graduated into the bursting of the dot-com bubble, and then some of us graduated into the post-Katrina housing market failure, freaking recession of '08, right? And then as we barely started to climb out the slime, thank you for being here, Dr. Thunder. Dr. Thunder says here to support. Thank you, right? Yes. Let's look. Dr. Thunder got some wisdom for y'all. Look what he said. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Support the show. Yes, Dr. Thunder, the wisdom of the doc, right? But yeah. Oh, you know what, GC? I'm gonna address that right now. Actually, let me give me a second. So, as we started to climb out the slime as millennials, right? I'm talking about generation wide. before we even get to black people and black men in particular, right? So as we start to climb out the slime, we get hit with this COVID situation, right? Which is a little over a decade from the housing recession, right? And about 20 years, actually 20 years on the head pretty much from the dot-com bubble, right? So I know for the oldest of millennials, they're like, what the hell? Right? I know the oldest of millennials that's like 40, 41, 42-ish. They're like, what? Can I get a break, please? Right? So let me address GC's comment because he asked me this earlier and I didn't answer it. Said, sorry, Mr. Z, I missed your response about whether or not you support taxing billionaires, trillionaires out of existence. First, I don't know if we have any trillionaires, but to answer your question, I do think about raising taxes and spreading the wealth around, but I don't believe in taking people's wealth, right? Number one. Number two, if we were to raise taxes, that would make less billionaires, right? That would create less billionaires. And that speaks to something I asked on Roger's channel a few days ago. Would you rather, and this is a question for everybody listening, right? Before we get to that, y'all remember what Dr. Thunder said, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. But this is a question for everyone listening. Would you rather have, let's say, because right now we have 15 black billionaires around the planet, so let's say it's really 20. Okay, 20 black billionaires on the planet. Let's say it's even 25. Okay, would you rather have, and about half of them are in America, so let's put it at like 13. Okay, 13. Would you rather have 13 black billionaires in America, or would you rather have about 40% of black people, right, be 70, 80, let's say 65 to $95,000 a year people? That is a question for everyone. So let me ask that question again. Would you rather have, let's say, 15 to 20 black billionaires in America, right? Legitimate 1.5 all the way up to, let's say, $20 billion, right? Would you rather have about 20 of them, 15 to 20 of them, or would you rather have about 40% of the black American population earn anywhere from $65,000 to $95,000? That is a question, right? And so that is my way of kind of answering GC's question of like, and his question was, do I think these people should be taxed out of existence? I do think that they should be taxed more, right? And spread the wealth around. Don't be spending that money on some freaking bombs that you got to go shoot at some Iraqis or something, right? Or some Afghanis, or you know what? I ain't even going to talk about what's going on in Yemen. We ain't even going to do it, right? So because that's a real question, right? And it looks like, you know, Trell Bentley got to be the one person. I'm too competitive. Give me the 12 to 15 billionaires. All right. Well, I disagree, sir. But no, and that's a real question for everyone, because it speaks to what it takes to acquire that wealth. It speaks to what you think about not only just wealth acquisition, but how the game works and how the game is rigged. And I don't fault Trell Bentley if he's being serious for his comment. You know, it is what it is. I would rather have the 40% of black Americans in particular, that earn $65,000 to $95,000 a year. That would be a beautiful sight, right? But I get why, 15 to 20 black billionaires. Well, you said 12 to 15. I'm saying, like, well, let's say 15 to 20. And in our lifetime, I think, for those of us that are millennials, I think in our lifetime, we'll see that. We'll see 20 black billionaires, right? That's very possible. But once again, will those black billionaires be the functionaries of the $500 billion plus people, right? The question then becomes, is black wealth a function of white access wealth, where white people are so wealthy that a couple of us can become wealthy too. How many of y'all ever thought about that, right? That America is so wealthy, right? And white people in particular are so wealthy that a couple of us that entertain them could be rich and wealthy too. Or a couple of us that help them. I'm not going to say it's only black entertainers. We know that there's black people like Robert Smith, and the tech brother, I can't remember his name, but one of y'all is going to say it in the comments. And there's a couple of people, right, that have legitimately done things with their minds and with their hands that get into that $100 million plus range, right? So we can't take away from those people either. But yeah, so that's real. And can somebody give me the name of the brother, that the tech brother that's a billionaire? I forgot his name. Jesus Christ. And it was just right there. Like his face is there, but I can't remember his name. But yeah, so so that's a real question for everyone. And what did Dr. Thunder say? Dr. Thunder said, much better to have more black people in the 65 to 90K range than a few billionaires. I agree. The nihilist part of me agrees with you, Project 8020. The nihilist part of me agrees with you, right? Because it's not going to happen in our lifetime, right? But I'm going to say something in a minute, but let me read your comment. You said the, but I know you mean they. They would stop all of us, all if they could. Yeah. No? Okay. No, not Robert Smith. It's not Robert Smith. It's another brother. I can't remember. Oh, I'm gonna try to look it up on my phone. I'm gonna try to look up his name on my phone when I'm playing the thing in the background for you guys. So damn, I lost my train of thought. It happens. It happens. But yeah. So wealth acquisition, from billionaires, do we have so much money floating around that a couple of us could become billionaires too? But then how, right? Because from my understanding, there's like 7 or 8 black billionaires in America, something like that, and like more than half is like entertainment. They came in the door through entertainment, from Oprah to Jay, right? To different Freddie figure. Is it? I'm gonna look that up in a minute. David Stewart, Spain Man. Yes, I think that's his name. Yes, yeah. I think that's the brother. Yeah. I'm almost certain that's the name. Thank you. Right? Let me look him up real quick, and then I'm gonna tell you if that's what it is. Let's see. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Spain Man. It is David Stewart, because his face was right there, right? His face was right there, and I couldn't get the name out. I was like, I'm like, it's another, because Robert Smith's name is like really very simple. David Stewart's name is really very simple. I'm like, it's another really simple name. How do you not remember? Yes, thank you, Spain Man. Yeah, that's the brother I was talking about. I don't know why. When you know these things and you feel embarrassed because you know it and then you can't get it out. It happens. So let's continue, because there was another clip that I wanted to play for you guys that I did not get ready while I was talking, but so let me get it ready while I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, so this is kind of where we are now. People losing it, right? And so we're the weird manifesting thing, and the way that channel covered manifesting. I mean, remember, you're talking about like a white feminist kind of perspective, but towards the latter half, they really get into the crushing feeling, excuse me, that a lot of people experience, even young people, especially young people, and why we're sounding the way we're sounding, and like this manifesting, where is it coming from? Which I spoke to in my video also, but I think obviously production and management team, and they just did a better job at articulating it, even if I don't agree with some of the ways they got there. I'm definitely one of those people that can agree with you 1 minute and disagree with you another minute, right? And thread the line in that gray area if need be. Although not everything is gray, right? Okay, so let's play this this next clip. Okay, so this is a channel called Be Me, and what's interesting is that he says some things I don't agree with flat out, right? But he says some things that I've been saying in this space since y'all first see me in this space back in what, 2018, 2017? You know, so I think, and that was, I was saying that before I ever watched this, right? So I think it's important to stress some of the things. And plus he has I'm a lot of what I'm going off of is like data points that I've pulled from like different things I've read and watched throughout my life, but like he has it like in front of him. So I'm just gonna, you know, play this for you guys, and y'all let me know what y'all think afterward.
Degree. So, Kuntz explained, a woman from yesteryear would be better off from a purely monetary standpoint to invest her time and resources into marrying a dude with high income potential. But over time, fortunately, women have not only catapulted over barriers to the job market, but the earnings gap between men and women has shrunk. So, relatively, men are making less money than before, while women are making more money. The result, the financial imperative and incentive for women to marry has been reduced. While the earnings gap does stubbornly persist, women can now make it on their own. In fact, in about 25% of American couples, women are now the breadwinners. Even if they're not, working women today have options other generations did not. They can afford to be picky. Look, if framing marriage as a transaction seems a little cold to you, not exactly warm and fuzzy, I get it, trust me. But Wang told me one of the primary reasons most never married millennials have stayed single is because of financial reasons.
Told you.
That mentality, problematically, might be fostering this idea that you have to be pre-qualified for marriage. Consider.
Told you that
Kuntz
part
told
too.
me that young couples decades ago used to marry first, often having dated for 6 months or less, and then figure out the other important stuff in life. Marriage was sort of a gateway into the adult world. Today, it's more likely to be the reverse. Individuals work on their own lives, advance their own careers, figure out their finances, maybe move in together, and then say, I do. Marriage in this setup is a status symbol, not the first step in adulthood, but a sort of victory lap. No wonder, then, that wealthier, well-educated people are more likely to get married than folks without a college education who have low income. This disparity is a bad development because child rearing has not declined proportionately in low-income communities. That is, more children are born out of wedlock and to single parents than before. Obviously, many single parents make it work, but Wilcox told me married parents are the gold standard when it comes to raising children. 2 potential incomes means more financial resources for starters, and 2 parents frequently mean the kids will get more attention, more help with homework. For what it's worth, Kuntz pushed back on this idea. She told me that the pressure of achieving that gold standard might force 2 parents who aren't right for each other to create an unhappy household. This is sometimes referred to as father need, but it's often better to have 1 functional, happy parent than 2 dysfunctional combatants constantly at each other's throats. And Kuntz told me, research shows that when people are anxious to find a partner to help raise their kids, they tend to have more relationships that end in breakups. That churn could rattle a child's stability. So here we encounter a situation where marriage might not be ideal. Other people might stay away from nuptials for a variety of different reasons, to focus on a career, to prioritize friendships because they like living alone. The LGBT community has a very different perspective on marriage norms after being shut out of it for so long. So yeah, it's not for everyone. That's why I don't think a falling marriage rate is the sign of a culture in decline. Actually, I'll argue that while marriages have reduced in number, they're growing in quality.
Whatever that means.
Because women are less financially constrained, because we've overcome some prudish social norms, because we've learned from the mistakes of previous generations. Marriage is more deliberate.
Liberal talk.
Choice is a bigger factor than ever before. That's why divorces are actually on the decline. And choosing not to get married or getting married later in life,
divorce is on
well,
decline
those
because
are
marriage is
legitimate
on the
options
decline.
too. However, when economic anxieties prevent that choice, when a lack of access to education pushes us into the undesirable category, well, there's something deeply unfair about that. So here's yet another reason to create good jobs and improve education. It will give more people the choice to get married or not.
I kind of agree with that ending part, but as you can see, the agreeing, seeing the facts, right? So let's critique this video. Seeing the facts, seeing what it is, but because you got to do the whole, but it ain't all about the money for the women, right? Right? You're guarding how you say these things, and that's what I saw from this dude. But the numbers being what they are and how he spoke about it, like I've been saying pretty much since you guys have ever heard me speak, this is becoming a class exercise, class exercise in elitism. And it's not that poorer people don't value money, right? They value money, they value marriages, they value family, right? They just don't have it, right? And I think that's kind of the sad part. So me and him agree with that. We're getting to the place, trailability, exactly. See, prudish social norms, exactly. Like, bruh, that's why I said liberal talk. Exactly. Um, yeah. So, but there is something to be said about, and remember, it's the men, it's not the women, pricing men out of marriage. There is something to be said about that, right? And that's why I said, like, all right, then if y'all want to play those games, then make polygamy legal. If y'all really want to play those games, make polygamy legal, and let's see how long your society survives without heads being taken off, quite literally, right? If y'all really want to play those games in this society, it's not smart. I think it's ill-advised, right? But you're pricing regular average dudes out of marriage, and we're getting to the place now. I don't remember whose channel I said this on. Also, we're pricing men out of long-term relationships. Forget marriage, right? Forget marriage, right? Let's read Black Uru's comment. What's missing from what he is presenting is how the feminist and welfare state artificially enhances and distorts the mentality and perspective of women, especially Black women. Pause. Let me congratulate myself. I love when I read that smooth. I'm gonna pat myself on the back, right? I mentally, once I saw it was a Black Uru comment, I was like, okay, I gotta get ready to read this straight before I do him a disservice by reading it all choppy and stuff and struggling and stumbling over words. Secondly, yes to Black Uru's comment, right? And so, how much of that is missing it, and how much is I purposely ignoring it? Because like it's really difficult for me to believe, and I actually had these debates years ago when I worked at a law office down here in South Florida, and when I was working for the Florida Democratic Party, on how much of these things are like you're missing it. And sometimes it is a real miss, but not all the times. It's an ignoring. And when I say the cosmic justice, for those of you that have ever heard Mr. Z say, like, these people feel like it's cosmic justice and they're paying men back, Black men in particular, no one actually overtly said that to me ever, right? No woman or no LGBTQ man or no feminist dude ever overtly said that to me, but they got real close, right? They got real close to essentially justifying watching men fall and actually pushing men off the cliff to help women, right? So that's something to think about. And so to Black Uru's comment, I would say, if this is a dude that he's smart enough to present this, and he's spoken he has spoke to professors about this thing, and he did this research, yes, some of it may be missing, but some of it I think is truly ignoring what you see. It's truly ignoring what you see. Indigo Flow, I mean, what do you mean by you can sense it though? Are you talking about like what's going on, this environment and these type of things? Because if that's what you're saying, then yeah, I would agree. And let me say something that I said on Dr. Thunder's channel a couple nights ago. If we live in a globalized world, increasingly more globalized world, and like I said earlier, men in the West, men in America in particular, Black men, are being priced out of being able to afford a wife in a family, a nuclear family, because that's what they want, right? then the passport bros do have a point. Yeah, thank you, AB. Thank you. Yes, like you said, Democrats have a man problem. Yep. Thank you, AB. Yes. Right. So um why not? And I'm answering let me actually read Trail's comment. Priced out of dating market will lead to proverbial barbarians at the gate. That was my point. Exactly. 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 And I think that is proverbial, and the people that can't afford it will just dip. They out. And who can blame them? The women are too damn expensive. To be frank, like if anybody is listening, if FD you're listening, T Noir you're listening, any one of y'all, Nappy Headed, a whole book, Khadijah, any one of y'all, find my little ass channel and y'all are listening in. You think this intimacy thing and relationship thing is not going to have devastating effects in this country and in the black community? First of all, I would disagree. It is, number one. Number two, the women are becoming too damn expensive. And that it's kind of like this double-edged sword. So the women become too expensive, and then the men that can barely kind of afford them then dip out and go find women that are cheaper to maintain. And I know this is sounding very transactional. I'm speaking like this on purpose. And then that ends up hurting the women again on the back end. Right? Oh, GC. That's funny. It's true. Just showing some support. Thank you, MGTOW Universe. Thank you. But yeah, man. So that's why you see more and more of these dudes traveling overseas. It's not because the way it's framed, right? The way it's framed is that they're traveling overseas to get these young, naive, freaking borderline destitute, third world country women. And is that true for some men? It might be. And think about what argument you're really making. Let's say you're right about that. I'll give you that for argument's sake. What you're saying is, instead of y'all staying here and dealing with us tough, strong-willed, expensive women. Is that an argument you really want to make? Why are you going over there where it's easier and nicer and the women are going to treat you better? Do you really want to make that argument? Right? So this is, once again, we're speaking about the money and the environment, right? The money and the environment, and why these things sound the way why people sound the way they do, right? But y'all killing me right now. Y'all killing GC. That's a perfect comment. Let me read it. It's better to leave them in poverty, according to that garbage argument. Laughing my ass off. Exactly. Right? And by the way, y'all have never heard Mr. Z push passport bros. I don't necessarily push passport bros, but I understand, right? I get it. If we're gonna look at it purely transactional, and I mean, you live in this society that's kind of pushing that, then why not, right? Why not? Cheaper product. And then cheaper, maybe even nicer, better quality product. And I don't like to talk about people in this way of like objectifying people and making them things, right? But if we're going to make that argument, right? If we're going to speak, because we live in this capitalist society, ain't nobody really pushing back on it except for a handful of us. Well, if we live in that society and you have decided to view men as products, then men view you as products, and we're deciding to go somewhere else and spend money and time and energy somewhere else. You know, and I made Dr. Thunder chuckle when I said this, and get more bang for our buck. Giggity, right? I'm just saying, right? So let's read MGTOW Universe's comment. He said, even if they're dirty feet, my risk is minimized, and she is grateful and humble. As long as there aren't any dumb safety nets, you're golden. Oh no, hey, if you're dealing with a developed nation, there's gonna be dumb safety nets, bro. Once your nation starts developing, there's gonna be safety nets. Now, your society and your culture dictates how those people interact with that safety net, right? whether they're okay with being at the very bottom, barely surviving on that safety net, or whether they still work hard because nobody wants to be a burden on society and take people's tax dollars because they're living off that safety net. But the safety net is coming with any air quotes advanced society, right? That's part of the game, right? But yeah, Spainman says, as someone pointed out, hypergamous American women complaining about third world hypergamous hypergamous women. Let me reread that. As someone pointed out, hypergamous American women complaining about third world hypergamous women. Yeah, yes. And that was really, what channel were we on when somebody said that, Spainman? Because I remember hearing that too, and I don't remember if I caught it on a playback or if I was on the channel listening in. But that was a freaking genius comment, right? Yeah. I think dirty feet is kind of sexy. I could make an ageist joke right here, Black Uru. You open yourself up to that. I could make an age joke to that. Because at least she might actually do something other than her makeup and her weave. See, I should have read the second part before I made the funny. But yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, Doc Thunder's channel, broski. Okay. So that was the other night on Doc Thunder's. Thank you, GC. Yeah, Black Ooze right. Right? Yeah. Yep. Okay, let me see. I think I got one or two more clips to play for y'all, and then I'm gonna just try to see if I bring people up. Let's where's that other clip? Okay, yeah. Give me a second, guys. I would say budget cuts, but we were working with a low budget from the beginning. Shout out to our new style. That shit cracks me up every time he says it. Every time he says it, I crack up. It's like I heard it for the first time. Okay, let's play this because I want you guys to hear this. Oh, what I'm gonna play for you guys is from Adam Curtis. Adam Curtis is the documentarian that brought us Century of Self, that brought us Hypernormalization, that brought us a bunch of other, like I've watched like 4 of his documentaries. Excuse my language, everyone. Them shits are long. Like every documentary is like 3-4 hours long, and I just break them down and I watch them piece by piece over the span of a day or 2 or maybe even 3, and they're really good because he gives you stories and he walks you. But let me read Trell's comment real quick. We're all products in a capitalist society. The trick is to market and sell your product for the highest value. I'm like insulin over the past 10 years. Wait, better you, what'd you say? Let me see what it is. Safety nets only seem to be a problem in diverse societies, homogenous societies, and even the US, when many benefits where whites only don't have a problem with it. That's actually 100% true. That would better use citizens. So there was I said it before, and I gotta find a study, so I'm gonna post it on my community tab because that's 100% right. Studies show that when white people find out that a program is going to benefit Black people disproportionately, or you even imply that it's going to benefit Black people disproportionately, they're more likely to snub their noses at it and vote against it. So Better You is right about that. Right? So let's not, and anybody remember what I was about to say? Because I think it was pretty important, and then I lost my train of thought because I had to read Better You's comment because I knew he was going to say something fire. Shout out to Better You, the brother always says something fire. Aquatech says 400 is half of tires I can get 40k to 60k out of. Okay, I think that comment might be directed to somebody else. Okay. Oh yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, Adam Curtis. So yeah, I was speaking about Adam Curtis. The documentaries that he makes, they're really good, and he tells stories. So he focuses. He does talk about obviously the information, but he uses stories to tell it, and he usually goes back as far as possible, right, and then walk you right to modern day, right. So. And when I say far as possible, it'll be something like Victorian era, industrial age, or whatever, and he'll walk you right up to how we got to where we are. And it's really good. And he'll focus on one particular person, right, and tell their story. But while he's telling their story, you're seeing what's happening around them. So that's the society and the environment. And if you're really paying attention, you'll see why he's focusing on this one person, right? So I really, really like his kind of documentary style. But and it's given him, I think, a particular perspective. And by the way, if y'all don't know, Adam Curtis, British documentarian, has some really good stuff. Might be a little too serious sometimes, but I get it, right? But yeah, so I'm going to share this for you guys, and y'all will watch it. Give me 1 second. Let me share this, and y'all listen to what he say, and then I really want to know what y'all think after he says what he says. Right. So y'all get y'all fingers ready.
And you're going to have to answer them if you're going to change the world.
Yeah.
Because you see, the point is what we try to do, remember, if you're going to put this in a big historical terms, is that the reason we gave up on big ideas in the West is because big ideas were seen to have led to horror. Not seen to lead to horror, they did lead to horror. Communism, fascism, all kinds of totalitarianism. So we said, we're not going to do big ideas any longer. And what we did is we substituted, not just individualism, we substituted money. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. We used money as a way of a means of communication. The marketplace became this really big way of how we talk to each other. And that was really good because it led to that, you know, self-expression through consumerism, hyper-consumerism of the 80s and the 90s. But when you actually run a society through the medium of money, what you give up on is it becomes very utilitarian. Everything is measured in terms of money. Which is, and I'm not doing the normal thing about money being bad. What I'm saying is that it narrows your options for how you think about the world. Because if you think about the world in utilitarian terms, you're sort of on your own. It's what you do, what you get, and then you die. And I think a lot of people find that underneath quite difficult.
Yes, and
I think Adam Curtis summed up everything I was trying to say in just that. It becomes really cold when everything is numbers, right? Allspad, I'm gonna address your comment of 275s on the C63 because I need your address so I could come and take that Benz. Right? But what Adam Curtis was saying, and I think he summed it up perfectly, is how cold when everything becomes numbers, when everybody becomes an object, when everybody is what's the word I'm looking for? It's not objectified, a commodity. There we go. When everyone becomes a commodity and everything becomes commodity, I think the feeling that comes from that, right, as a human being, it's very cold, and I think it makes us cold, right? I think it makes us cold, and I think it allows us to excuse really harmful behavior from ourselves and from others, right? That's where I think you get some of the comments sometimes when you hear people say, "Well, he rich though," right? They'll do some of the most heinous things. Some people will do some of the most heinous things, and then you'll hear, "Well, he rich though," right? Right? Well, he got the money though, right? Well, I kind of understand why she did what she did. I mean, shit, right? You hear those things, right? Because of that, and I'm asking black men, how black men in the black manosphere. This is going back to some of the stuff me and Black Uber were speaking about the other day. How far in this you want to go, right? And shout out to the Roger Report again. Where's your moral compass in this? Do you have one, right? So I wanted to paint the picture today of like the financial environment that's causing people to sound the way they sound, right? Or helping to cause people to sound the way they sound. Because some of this, right, is definitely on you as an individual, right? It's on you, it's on your family, it's on your relatives. But a lot of this too is that environment, right? That's causing people to sound more and more insane and unhinged. Y'all remember right after COVID, all the insanity in people's driving, right? That was the environment. People have been locked up in the house for so long. They hadn't driven for so long. That pent up rage and anger, right? All of that. And then you allowed people to get back on the road and like, boom, right? And it wasn't just driving. It's like a whole society like got shaken up a little bit, right? People got walked out their house unhinged because they had been pinned in their house for a year or two, maybe even just 6 months, but they lost the ability to like the socialization process rubbed off a little bit, right? That I agree, GC. That's straight bootlegging behavior to use someone else's money to excuse effortry. I agree. I agree. Right? But I mean, we see that. We see that, right? And that's unfortunate, right? I agree. I agree with you too, Aquateki. Wealth should not give you a pass on ethics. I agree. I agree. Right? But I think money's important, and it should be, right? Money's supposed to be a tool, right? To unlock doors, to move up in society, to acquire power to a certain extent, right? Nothing wrong with that. Once again, how much? Right? Look, understand, Mr. Z, tonight I have not been anti-wealthy people. I have not been anti-rich people. I'm just saying how much of their how much of their money should equal power? And then how much of their power will you allow them to wield over other people, average people, right? I'm saying Project 8020. Project 8020 says meltdown in Popeyes over chicken sandwich. For real. People were losing it all over the place, bro. Right? AB Media. Y'all hit me with these comments. Yep, people are quitting work in droves. Yeah, that what they call it, the quiet quitting. And the quiet quitting is not necessarily quitting. It's just like doing the most lackluster job at your job, right? The most lackluster job at your job. And I get it. Right? So I want to play this, and I played this on a previous video I made. I want to play this. I want to play one more pop memo, and then I'm gonna bring you guys up in a minute. Remember, Mr. Z don't got that full on 10 people StreamYards. I got the 6 people StreamYard, so y'all work with me. But let's play this. And this is from years ago. So this is where I was getting the information from you guys, and they got their information from the American Enterprise Institute, which is a conservative think tank, right? So let me. Why do I keep on pressing the wrong button? I've been pressing the right button all day. Okay, let's play this. All right. I played this before. I want to play it again to put some stuff in perspective. Let's go.
Why aren't people getting married? Is marriage simply for those who are privileged? That was the question in regard to a survey done by the American Enterprise Institute and Opportunity America. As we know, the percentage of people getting married has decreased over recent years. And so what are the reasons behind it? Now, marriage has sharply declined among people without college degrees, while staying steady among college graduates with higher incomes. So just to give you the specific numbers, 26% of poor adults, 39% of working class adults, and 56% of middle and upper class adults ages 18 to 55 are married. So the number or the percentage is much lower for those who are living in poverty or struggling economically. Now, to compare, back in 1990, the numbers were very different. So in 1990, 51% of poor adults, 57% of working class adults, and 65% of middle and upper class adults were married. One of the main reasons that respondents mentioned was that, when it comes to men who are struggling with their finances, who might not have good jobs, women are less likely to be interested in marrying them. And so that could be part of the reason. Also, just over half of adolescents in poor and working class homes live with both of their biological parents, compared with 77% in middle and upper class homes. So even though less people are getting married when it comes to, a certain socioeconomic status, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're having less kids.
So the question then becomes, and like I was saying, is it that poorer people and working class people and there's an argument to be said, if you're doing any type of 9 to 5, you're a working class person, even if you're making $250,000 a year. But when I say working class, I'm saying people that make some 50, 60, 70 grand a year. They're not working poor necessarily, but working poor, working class people, lower middle class people, right? Are we saying that they don't value marriage? They don't value real relationships? Or have they been kind of priced out? And when we say have they, we mean the men, right? We mean the men. So, because what we're seeing is we continuously, regardless of who's researching it, there's a through line between wealth, income, and marriage prospects for men in particular, right? So the question is, are these people like, do they not have no morals or no ethics? They don't want to, they don't believe in family values. They don't believe in the nuclear family. Is that the problem? Or have we just priced them out? And when we say price them out, that means that women are looking, because there's another data point, and I gotta find it. That's another thing that I have to put in my community chat, that women are looking for men that earn about 58% more than them, so pretty much 60% more than them. If I wanted to be nice, I would say 50% more, but okay, whatever. So if more and more women are making I'm gonna read that in a second, Raj. If more and more women are earning more and more money, like the guy from BME was saying, then that means that they're pricing themselves out the game. Women are pricing themselves out the game, right? If you're a woman that's making $45,000 a year, and then you're looking for a dude that makes 60% more than you, right? What are we working with? $70,000-$80,000, something like that, right? At least 65, 70. So you done priced out how many dudes, right? Before we get into race. But because people don't think about it like that, namely women, these things affect stuff. Like I was on a channel once, and I was just ringing off the numbers, and then I started being called nihilistic and defeatist, and I'm like, y'all throwing that at me? Y'all never even heard these things before. Number one. Number two. So if I'm not giving you the everything is daisies and rainbows and unicorns, then I'm a defeatist and a nihilist, right? But that speaks to like this constant push for this positive imagery, this positive, give me positive. I want to see good. I want to see positive, right? And I'm like, right? That's drugs. So let me read Raj's comments. Raj said, next week, 6 p.m. Central Time will be the Nameless protagonist. Make sure you're tuned in. So Nameless is next week. I feel honored to be having a show before Nameless. So yeah, and thank you, thanks Raj for the super chat. Thank you, right? I'm gonna read both of these because definitely true. Okay, so GC said that's being a realist. Thank you, GC. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Let's think about this. Mr. Z is in a relationship, a loving relationship with my lady. Okay. I make in the top third of income earners. Okay. Don't have a house yet. Working on it, right? Well, I want to get married first, but okay, working on it, right? So none of the things I'm saying is because I don't have these things, and it's like on some I can't have it, so I'm gonna try to get nobody to want it because like the misery love company thing. That's not what Mr. Z is saying. I'm asking us to have a more honest, realistic conversation and a more realistic view of the world. Once again, like GC said, right? What do you say? That's being a realist. Exactly. Yeah, Aquateki, exactly. Facts equal nihilism. Exactly. Equal defeatist, equal nihilism, right? So I'm just asking people to be just, especially Black people, like, where would we be without aspirational Black people, right? Where would we be without aspirational Black people? But at the same time, the delusion that comes from some of us right? And that's what the manifest video was speaking to. Like people just they're losing it. So now they're going to witchcraft. And I did so much research after Kevin passed on these people that's claiming like different African gods helped to kill him and blah 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 blah. I did so much. I just didn't put that video out. I have all the clips and it's in like I edited a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna probably come back to that eventually. I want to do a live stream about that eventually, right? So yeah, man, it's just facts equal nihilism, exactly. Let's see what Roger had to say. Right. Just so you know, my mom is with me now, and she just asked me to turn it up. We're listening while driving. What's going on, Miss Roger Report Live, Elder, I guess. Thanks, Raj. Thanks. So, y'all, I'm really famous now because I got another famous person, the Roger Report. His mother's listening to me. So, hey, mama, I made it. Right? So, yeah. So, what's the last clip I want to play for you guys? I'm stuck because there's two clips I want to play, but they're both semi-longish. Okay, let's play. It's gonna be a clip from something I did earlier. So, if I can remember, let me see. I'm gonna timestamp it so that you guys can because I really want you guys to. All right, so we're gonna try that. Okay. So, all right. So we're gonna play this, and then I'm gonna let you guys on. Okay, let's do that. All right, everybody. When I said that, I just thought about Tariq Nasheed making fun of a certain somebody. When I said, "All right, everybody," I'm not gonna say the name. Because we're gonna try not to do beef on this channel, but when he was mocking a certain somebody back in the day when they were beefing. All right, let's play this. Okay.
Situation comedies from 1946 to 1990 at least, he found that just 11% featured heads of household who were working class, i.e. doing blue collar.
Let me bring it back actually a little bit more.
If this struck you as unusual when you were watching the series, that's because it was. In scholar Richard Bush's study of 262 so-called domestic situation comedies from 1946 to 1990 at least, he found that just 11% featured heads of household who were working class, i.e. doing blue-collar, clerical, or service work. Malcolm's father, and future drug lord, as you may remember, placed a low-level clerical worker. This is despite the fact that most American workers qualify as working class. Back in 1976, scholars Gerbner and Gross addressed this still relevant trend, calling the exclusion of working-class families from television a symbolic annihilation of America's economic realities. The problem is especially bad on children's television, where a scant 2% of characters are depicted as working class.
2%.
Now, this isn't exactly a coincidence. Showing stable middle and upper class families is good for business, especially if you're making a family-friendly sitcom. And the reason is simple. Commercials. According to scholars Zieglinde Lemke and Wibke Schneiderman, as a form of mass entertainment financed by selling commercials to middle-class consumers, it seems logical that the predominant mode of representing class presupposes middle-class normativity. That is to say, watching the kids' skins stick to the seat in a rundown car with a broken radiator doesn't exactly put you in the mood to splurge on that cool new vacuum cleaner or a fancy bottle of cologne. In comparison, watching the Huxtables hang out in their brownstone while modeling yet another sick sweater from a seemingly endless pile brings viewers a sense of economic plenty that they might not feel in their day-to-day lives. Now, obviously,
emphasis
Malcolm
on the
in
word
Middle
feel
wasn't the first show to peddle an economic angst.
I'll tell you what they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you what all jobs pay. Less than you're worth and just enough to keep you crawling back for more.
We saw this as far back as the 50s with the Honeymooners, while the mid-70s brought Laverne and Shirley, and the late 80s saw the debut of America's most famous working-class family on Roseanne. But for anyone with enough business savvy, it just didn't seem financially smart to make a family or children's show about bringing your leftover egg breakfast to school for lunch.
What do you have? Leftover eggs from breakfast?
Which brings us to Disney. In a moment, that is. First, we have to look at 1980, when a broad cultural phenomenon began. The Reagan-era loosening of restrictions on entertainment regulations,
Now y'all
including
see why I be going
advertising
in on
during
Reagan.
children's television programming. Now, after a major 70s era crackdown on advertising to kids, you could only show a limited amount of commercials during children's programming, and were also required to produce educational and informative content for kids. When President Reagan and co. had essentially signed or vetoed all that away by 1984, things changed rapidly. A year after regulation, all of the top 10 best-selling toys had their own TV show. While child-centric product placement had occurred during television's early days, that was really no comparison to this new reality. The insane proliferation of TV character-aligned merchandising was dubbed the Strawberry Shortcake Strategy by Tom Engelhardt. That's thanks to the 1980 show's explosions of licensed dolls, video games, stickers, lunchboxes, and so on. And that reliance on branding would continue to increase from the 90s and on, as corporations realized what a valuable consumer demographic children could be. And though a 1990 congressional bill had reinstated some restrictions on such advertising, the industry had been changed forever. Increasingly, merchandising centered on children's television characters began blurring the line between consuming entertainment and just plain consumerism. And we're not trying to demonize your favorite Lizzie McGuire lunchbox. It's just a little weird. Which is why families like Malcolm in the Middle aren't the norm for places like the Disney Channel. While they didn't start making original live-action shows until the late 90s, they came in hard, quickly crafting what journalists Julia Borston and Alinda Wheat call a tween machine, in which pre-teenagers, and in this case primarily girls, were targeted through lifestyle marketing like the world had never seen. As scholar Morgan Genevieve Blue notes, the marketing was part and parcel with the programming decisions themselves, explaining that Disney Channel personnel worked closely with Disney Consumer Products and Disney Music Group to extend the network's fictional narratives across a variety of media and merchandise for tween girls. This was in order to effectively creep into the lives and life spaces of kids beyond the TV network. And that's according to a presentation given by President and CCO of Disney Branded Television, Gary Marsh himself. And the way they did it, mostly through appeals to girl consumers. As Blue explains, characters like Hannah Montana promote representations of aspirational celebrity and teen life via fashion and dress-up and musical performances. In this way, according to Blue, franchisable girl star personae both reflects and perpetuates a neoliberal turn in the United States, which privileges a performative and celebrity-oriented form of girlhood as the contemporary ideal, i.e. a girl who has all the products she needs to look and behave a certain way. In the aughts, this often took the form of sparkly clothes, as best seen in Disney's unprecedentedly large expansion into Walmart stores with clothing and lifestyle lines specifically marketed to middle and working class girls. By 2014, Disney was racking in $3.99 billion of revenue in consumer products alone, driven largely by Disney.
And you want to know why the women
merchandise.
sound crazy?
The franchise element of the Disney Channel explains why programmers need to make shows about securely middle class families. Doing so both doesn't alienate working class viewers while also painting a fantasy of magical middle classdom where money is never a problem and consumption is a high priority. That is to say, the family on Wizards of Waverly Place may run a humble sandwich shop, but their apartment sure doesn't look that way. As Blue puts it, Disney's texts, products, and promotions may allay anxieties over vast systematic inequalities, in large part by painting an image of a world where families aren't struggling to make ends meet. This, of course, requires ignoring realities, like the fact that 14.4% of American children were growing up below the poverty line as of 2019.
I actually am worried about the future because I just want us to be good and don't have to worry about how we're going to get the next thing or how we're going to get food.
Of course.
So that was the final point that I want to make. So why do the women sound crazy? Why do the sisters sound crazy? I did a whole video on this some months back, and because we were all consuming this type of entertainment, but as you can hear from the own Disney exec through his own mouth, they purposely targeted the little girls, and so those little girls are now my age, in their mid-30s, in their early 40s, in their early 30s, late 20s, and they sound, excuse my language, everybody, cover your children's ears, your grandchildren's ears. Raj, sorry, Mother Raj, they sound fuck nuts, right? And that's because consuming this for a couple decades, right? Consuming this type of entertainment for a couple decades. See, we thought it was just TV. We thought it was just TV. It's not just TV. right? That's why I highlighted, what is it, Aquatechi's comment earlier, right? 30-minute commercials, toy commercials disguised as television shows, right? That's exactly what these were, right? So I'm about to let me see if I remember how to do this. My lady showed me, and I don't know if I remember. Right. Let's see. Might have to ask for her help. See, this is why I'm not really a big fan of Apple products like that. It just be too complicated. I like my Microsoft stuff that just be pip, pip, just copy and go. Okay, y'all, give me 1 second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Mr. Z is gonna go get my tech magician girlfriend figure this out real quick so I could share this link with y'all. Y'all give me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, y'all. GC said tech support bay. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Bay, you heard that? Tip my way, please. She said throw a tip her way. Right. Yep. Yeah, so put the link in there if anybody want to come in and have that convo. So yeah. That's where we are. So I really wanted to play that last clip so you guys can see and hear from the horse's mouth. They planned it. Now, did they know that this was good? First of all, these are like rich white dudes, right? So that's why, okay, if y'all ever heard me say it, and I might have said it even on Shay Sade's channel, right? The y'all are mad at your working class everyday black man because some white rich elite capitalist dude lied to you. When I say that, I'm not just pulling that out of my rear end. I know what I'm saying. Your average sister is mad she's not living the upper middle class rich lifestyle because some writers somewhere working for Nickelodeon or Disney or ABC or WB or whoever wrote some scripts, wrote some stuff that that now they're they think that this is the way life is and this is the way that life should be, right? And now they sound insane and they're trying to hold men, black men in particular, to these insane air quotes standards, right? Well, this is where SYSBM comes in, right? Aquatech says still collects action figures advertised from the 80s. Nothing wrong with that. And earlier today I was at a car show and my boy bought like 5 Hot Wheels in front of me for $35. Right?
You blame him?
Nope. So yeah, what's up with you?
That's what I said.
Today's let me steal this Jason Black quote. What do you think about today's broadcast?
All I'm gonna say is
don't come after me, Jason Black. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think he's gonna come after you.
He won't. I'm a small fry. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say that. Now, first of all, just to clarify something GC said to you. Nah, motherfucker, it's not he has issues with the tech support. It's just that this man is straight Android. His girl is iOS.
Yeah.
Understand the difference.
That part too. That part too. That part too.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I got cousins who are iOS themselves, and I never understood the whole appeal of Apple. I still don't. But this shit, you know, I remember when, because like yourself, I grew up, you know, I'm an 80s baby, and I remember how they would target boys with certain animated series and whatnot. And in between commercials, they would be showing commercials for you know, action figures and things like that. Or I remember they would see like a certain amusement parks and whatnot. I mean, I'll give you one example. I remember, now I grew up in the Middle East and whatnot, but did my dad's job, we got like Armed Forces Network. But one time when we were visiting folks in the States, this was like in New York, I remember watching, it was like 1990, I believe it was. Yeah, 1990. Summer of 1990. It was every morning I would see commercials. It was for a Bugs Bunny celebrating his birthday, talking about people should be going to a place called Great Adventures or some kind of amusement park like that. This is back when Coney Island was still Coney Island and shit.
Oh, this is New York.
Yeah, this was in New York.
Yeah,
I was in Brooklyn. So yeah, that's an example I'm explaining how they targeting kids, or like how they would target like people to check out certain, you know, like amusement parks and stuff like that, like, you know, Disney World or Disneyland and shit like that. I mean, I've even talked about people who, like, you ever seen commercials for shit like Universal Studios?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, have you ever been to Orlando?
Yeah. I just came from last year. We went to Halloween Horror Nights. Just came from there in what's that, October. Yeah, we just went to Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah, man. But yeah, so it's the environment right now, man, is crazy.
Consumerism, they target children for that, and they sell the illusion. I mean, this is why I mean, you were born in the mid '80s. I was born like a few years older than you. I'm a few years older than you, but it was like, you know, I remember the music in the early '80s. Like I remember the group Imagination. They had a song called "It's Just an Illusion." Or Genesis, they had a song called "Land of Confusion." Although they were talking about progressive political politics at that time, and like especially that song itself with the video.
We're definitely the land of confusion now. We're definitely, and I think that's much of the problem, and that's why I brought up nothing but what's going on in the environment, money stuff. By the way, this stream could have been so much longer. There's so much like money and wealth information and like what's going on in the environment information if you care to look. And I think we just get, I mean, like people have lives, right? Like, so people live their day to day, and then whatever was taught to them when they were younger or when they were in school, that's what they believe in, and that's what they're on. So you go out in the world with these ideas and these stereotypes, and then you know, and then you get smacked in the face with reality. And some of us just don't know how to deal with that, you know.
I mean, you know, with us, especially those who grew up as gamers and whatnot, we were exposed to this from a younger age as well. Especially when they were trying to sell us accessories for certain gaming consoles and shit. How that came in.
Yeah.
Oh, good one, Terrell Bentley. Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire.
We didn't start the fire. Exactly.
But then again, I remember a song called by Elton John called "I'm Still Standing." Still one of my favorite songs. I don't know what it is about that song, but sometimes I have this weird dream where he's performing the song on stage, right?
Okay.
And do you remember the Gremlins?
Yeah, the show. Yeah. But the movie.
The movies, yeah. Okay. The animated evil Gremlins. They were his backup band.
Wow.
When I was little, I hear that song, and sometimes when I hear the backup singer singing, I'm thinking the Gremlins. And I had this dream of them, you know, being his backup band. He's like, what the hell? Bloody fucking hell. But yeah, you're still standing. But yeah, I remember there was like, for movies, they also had action figures and shit like that. Remember that? How people were like, there's a woman I know who I've been involved in, lovely young lady, but I mean, she has her own personal issues and whatnot. That's from things that happened to her when she was younger, but she's kind of had this. She's used her love of Pokemon as a form of escapism.
Wow.
And she
So
had,
furry, cuddly, pocket card monsters. Okay.
she's also into cosplay.
Yeah.
It's healthy. It's a healthy form, but you know, a lot, but she, you know, she has a lot of collections of cards. She's also into other things. She's also into horses. This woman has worked as a horse handler and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a little bit younger than me. And my interactions with her were kind of helpful because, like herself, I do have mental health issues. And we were able to we were able to talk about a lot of things in very productive, comical ways. Especially because, you know, I live in a small town, and she's been, you know, a resident of this small town for quite a while. She still has her issues, but I'm helpful in some ways I could. But yeah, she has a lot of she has a collection of like horse figurines. She also has a collection of cards, like Pokemon cards. I said also, what are the pop-up dolls they have? The ones they keep in boxes.
Pop-up dolls that they have.
Pop something.
Oh, I don't know.
Those figurines.
So this is her this is a form of escape.
Yeah, it's a form of escapism, but I mean she's progressed a lot. I mean, she's a lot more mature and everything, but she's really into cosplay and she enjoys it. It's become more of a passion now. So it's not like an unhealthy obsession. It's more like she's become very more mature about it.
That's yeah, man. Look, like I want. Okay, I think that we're dealing with a fast-changing environment. People have heard me say this a million times. I'm sorry, you guys. A fast-changing environment, and most people don't know what to do. But we still have concepts of men leading and providing and protector provider male. And so the things that are in conflict is that some of the concepts of provider protector, but then putting this weird money strain on couples, men, and watching kind of like things collapse in on themselves because of that, right? Because you're, like I said, you're just making women too damn expensive, right? And I think like that's one of the things that we don't really factor in. We don't really talk about in this environment we do, but like in overall society, hell no.
The thing is, when you think about it, Z, or Monsieur Z, or Mr. Z, as they would say on this side of the Atlantic. Oh, for your information, folks, I'm in Europe. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Somebody once said, you know, what the hell's going on in this world? In the words of comedian Louis Black, it's a social experiment when you think about it.
No, for real though. Yes. For real though, exactly.
If you want to understand why we are the way they are, it's because society's too damn expensive. I mean, look at it this way. I mean, technology and everything's been changing so fast, it's overwhelming everybody. They're like, what the fuck? Can you slow the fuck down for a minute? And you realize by putting people in a delayed sense of adolescence, you are kind of like reducing the birth rates. And some people are like going to go into conspiracy theories about this. I'm like, no, not really.
No, I mean, like it's happening though. I mean, like I agree with you. It's happening though.
Also, a lot of people, you know, because they've had like, I know people who are divorced, who've been children of divorce, or they have certain family issues and decided not to have children or delayed having children later on in life.
And I remember, there was a video that spoke to that. Yeah, having children later on in life.
Because everything's interconnected. Yeah, everything's interconnected, Z. I mean, I don't have children, and just recently I was calling the parents back home, and you know how moms are, because they want to have the desire to have grandchildren. And you know, of course, my mother was trying to compromise. You know, she said, "I don't care what race she is. It's just, you know, I just want to hope you find somebody good." I'm like, I know what she's trying to say, but I'm like, hey. because
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people, especially because there are a lot of people because they realize how expensive it is, or they don't have the desire to have children. I mean, there's some people who have good reason not to have children, like if they know their family history, for example. So, but going back to this whole thing with Disney and everything, it's like they knew what they were doing when they were targeting children, because to quote Adolf Hitler, when you get the women and the children, the men will follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the best guilt trips at getting some of this consumerism was birthdays, Christmas,
Yep. Yeah.
Easter, or if you're Jewish, Hanukkah, Passover, or if you're Muslim, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha.
Mhm. Yeah, that consumerism.
That's that consumerism. And I learned, and you know, I'm not much of an electronics head myself, but I remember going. I still go to electronic stores every once in a while. There's a couple of electronic chains here, or the online websites I go to, and I'm grateful for growing up having my father with me, because sometimes my dad would take us to shopping malls, and this is in the Middle East, so I would be with him always. So when he was trying to get like certain things, I always watched him, observe him. Very, very, very questionable, very skeptical man, and him being an engineer and everything, he was like always had 20 questions whenever we went going shopping for anything. Hell, I learned from my mother how to haggle.
I learned that from my mom too. Yep.
Yeah, so we had the best of both worlds learning from them parents. But from my dad, I was learning, if I want to get something, I make sure I get the right tool.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to get something like a phone or something like that, I got to make sure it's the right investment. I mean,
yep.
I mean, recently I was like at the county's at our county's this county's administrative center, just to get some paperwork done and whatnot. And I stopped by a couple electronic stores to take care of a few things. But while I was in there, I asked one of the sales clerks some questions about certain products. I wasn't really there to buy, but I was just like doing some reconnaissance. And people, and that's the thing. You got to be, unfortunately, some people are programmed to be mindless consumers since they were kids.
Yeah.
Us, thankfully.
Unquestioningly, too. I think that's the thing, that the mindless consumer, but so like I went through that phase. I am a millennial that grew up watching the same thing as the rest of us, listening to the same thing as the rest of us. I went through that phase also, and I still like nice things, but with age and maturity, right, came the understanding that this can't be the be all end all, and how depressing would my life be if it was ruled by things, not just one thing. Like everybody has that one thing that they really want, and it could be anything. For me, it was a car. I got it, right? But even before I had it, it wasn't the end of the world. Now I was depressed every time I saw one pull up, but right. But when it's just things, I need this thing every other day. It's another thing, or every other week it's another thing. Every other month it's another thing. Every other year it's another thing. Yeah. That's a very depressing life. And like what Adam Curtis was speaking to earlier is like when everything becomes ones and zeros, it gets real cold. Life just becomes cold, and I think that's kind of where we are now. And
you know what? I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've been meaning to bring this up. If you ever watch the movie Fight Club, the beginning of it, Edward Norton's character, the narrator, prime example of male mindless consumerism. His house and everything was very ideal, like something out of an IKEA catalog and shit. Because remember, in the beginning, he was like talking about what his house looked like and everything, but it was just hollow, all these objects. But the question is, what are you? Who are you? Because he was nothing more than a cog in the wheel. At his job, he hated and everything. And it's from that. It's from that the Tyler Durden persona comes out.
Yeah.
Some people, and in fact, there's a YouTube channel called The Vile Eye, where they psychologically profile every evil character in every series or every movie and whatnot, and find out what is going on with them and why they are the way they are. In this case, The narrator, played by Edward Norton, apparently reaches his breaking point and experiences psychosis as a result because of lack of meaning in his life. And he's also suffering from severe insomnia. And that plays into this whole issue, and that's where the Tyler Durden character comes in. I think it's like a form of multiple personality or psychosis.
Yeah. Multiple personality disorder.
It's called, the clinical term is dissociative identity disorder.
Dissociative identity disorder. Okay.
Prime example of somebody with that is Herschel Walker, the former football great.
Oh, does he have that?
Yeah, he came out with that like in the early 2000s. I remember watching on like a CNN Sports News where he came out about that. And even the interview, even when they were doing that hit piece about him on the show, the interviewer was the narrator interviewer. He even said, even at this moment while we're talking to him, we're not sure which personality we're talking to. Are we talking to the prime? Are we talking to Herschel or one of his alters?
Wow.
You couldn't be sure. I mean, even Joe Rogan on his podcast kind of joked about the guy because you never know who you're talking to.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen. I mean, there's a YouTube channel about that. I'll talk about that later. But
Nami, let me give people. Guys,
sorry.
I'm gonna be that's not you. I'm gonna be up for another 10 minutes, and then Mr. Z gotta go live his life and go do boyfriend things and go eat and stuff. So we got about 10 more minutes. So if anybody else want to come in, if Pookie, if you want to say anything about today's broadcast, go ahead. But yeah, go ahead, Naaman.
Pookie, you guys anything to say?
No, Pookie, you were gonna say something? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was, good afternoon, Namor. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Z. Good afternoon to you, brothers. Hope y'all can hear me decently well this evening and afternoon. Okay, what I generally have to say about the subject is, I think the fact that the money that society was already integrated with coinage and stuff like that, and currency in terms of metal and stuff like that, that a value, that value was always in the background of any society. So there was always a hypergamous level because there's always was an aristocracy, but when things are so associated to a hegemonic dollar system, with it being so specific now. Because back in the day, the difference was back in the day and now is the woman always wanted a man with a lot, but a lot back in the day could have some variety to it. It could be you could have a house, you could have a lot of connections, you could be in a higher political office, you could be there was a lot more meaning to it. When now that's all been generally atomized to just dollar value and how much your bank account
Dollar
generally
status
says.
money. I mean, dollar status power. Done. Yeah.
Pretty much, but your status, your status and your power is intertwined with generally your money as well, for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean, there's degrees. There's degrees, but if we're talking about, there pretty much is no level of real power where you're not going to be a millionaire at least. Let's just be honest.
I would
like
agree
real
with that.
power.
I would tend to agree with that. Unless you live in like
now,
you don't have to
there's
be.
levels,
But no,
like
you're right.
10 million.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. 10 million, 100 million, billion. There's levels, but there's no real level of power or a real level of status, like where you're not a millionaire. Even if we're talking about from like if you're like an overseas basketball player, the fact that you got that status, like people don't just get that status without having a certain amount of money being associated with it. It's like in this current society, dollars in themselves have become integrated with every facet of interaction between human beings, like pretty much all the way down to the most intimate interactions. Like a chick your conversation is now being shaped in the modern age potentially by how much money a woman may think about you may have, or how much money someone else may think you have, and this may cause them to be like bad or good towards you, which is crazy.
No, that's
just
true.
Based off assumptions and trying to pocket watch, and it's just a whole lot of fugazeriness.
You know what, Pookie? It's interesting because like I talked about the minus consumerism in his generation. Because there's some younger millennials I've met and Gen Zs And they were talking, and this is my brethren. They're from my ethnicity and whatnot. I remember we were going to an electronics shop, and they wanted to get an iPhone, a newer iPhone. I said, "What do you need a new iPhone for?" I said, "Well, it's because it's iPhone." I'm like, and I was like asking, "Do you guys know anything about iPhones?" I said, "No," because they've never been outside. You know, this is their first time they've been in Europe, and this is why I said the Android shit. But that what you say about status and shit, that's also important.
The
I mean,
iPhone is a piece of status. That is true.
Also because
And
of
they
Disney.
made it. It's a piece. It's a piece. But
Hold on,
it's the same thing.
let me
It's the
connect
same
the
thing
dots.
with the iPhone.
Let me connect the dots.
Yeah,
Okay.
Let me connect the dots here, man. But what I'm trying to say is like also the whole Disney archetypes we're talking about, because a lot of girls want to grow up to be Disney princesses and want that knight in shining armor and that romanticism and all that. And a lot of guys don't understand that sometimes, or some of them when they get older they understand it. But what we fail to realize is like, especially when it comes to women, and women don't understand this themselves, they're 90%. And it was a woman who once explained this. Nora Vincent, who recently died, she explained it like this: female sexuality is 90% subconscious. So most women don't even know what turns themselves on or why they're intrigued by certain things. Even though they have the social programming they're programmed to think a certain way, or they're being subvertly programmed to think a certain way. Sometimes it runs contrast to their subconscious.
Look at this iPhone chauvinist over here, Trell Bentley. Trell Bentley, you don't get your Steve Jobs worshiping ass. No, I'm playing with you, Trell Bentley.
You have to duo, dude.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm messing with
fuck with
Trell Bentley.
duo.
I'm messing with him. No, because we Android life over here. What's going on, AB? What's up with you?
Hey, what's going on? I have mixed feelings on the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, it's a pain to develop for. You literally have to have a Mac to develop for it. You can't compile and test it on a Windows machine. You can't even compile and test the iPhone, the iPad on a Windows machine. A lot of people don't know that iOS is actually loosely based off of Mac OS. It's just programmed for a different chipset.
Okay.
But it's the same inside. But anyway, on to the topic. Mr. Z, something's got to give. I think something's going to give eventually. There's too much goofy stuff going on with the money and stuff. All these companies buying stock buybacks and stuff, and like something's got to get, something's going to give it. And I don't know. I don't know
Real
how
quick,
ugly.
Pookie, let it be finish real quick, and then we'll
I don't
get
know how
you.
ugly. I hope it doesn't get too ugly, but something's got to give. You already kind of seen the cracks with the railroad situation. I'm sure. Say what you want about Biden. I'm sure he looked at them CEOs that run the rail companies like, look here, MFA. You going to give them whatever they want, or else.
I mean, but it had to be done, and here's the thing. But Biden helped to bring this about.
That's true. I'm not excusing Biden.
I'm agreeing. No, I'm agreeing with you, AB. So you empowered these wealthy people to think they could run around the country like gods, lowercase g gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they do. Now that you really had Elon Musk giving the government the middle finger during COVID. Now, whether we think that the U.S. government might have went too far with the lockdown, that's a different question. That's a different. But when they say, "Hey, bro, we don't know what's really going on, so we shutting this down. Ain't no factory working unless it's a paramount." So food production and all that other stuff. And Elon Musk pretty much said, "Yeah, nah, no, right?" And yeah, because of course he would think he could do that. Why not? Like me and AB know, you got Jeff Bezos over here in was it Alabama? Selma, Alabama, or wherever it was, where the factory was. I mean, not the distribution center was. Where was it Mississippi or Alabama? Mississippi or Alabama, where they were really blocking, like there was a stoplight right by the distribution center. I think they removed the stoplight so that people, the workers couldn't picket there and get people to know, why they're protesting and why they're doing this so that people could support the vote, right, to unionize. But you empowered Jeff Bezos to think that he had the power, which apparently he did, to remove a whole intersection light. He probably made a phone call, or one of his people made a phone call. It probably wasn't even him. One of his people made a phone call, donated something to the mayor or whoever, and that intersection light was gone.
Well, he contributed somebody's campaign.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's lobbying right there. But my question is, what do you call that? Who's responsible for civil works and road and safety and everything like that in the U.S.? What's that department called?
Oh, highway and safety.
Highway and safety.
Yeah,
because they would have had
something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Somebody had
it goes all under transportation. It's our transportation.
Yeah,
agency.
transportation shit. Because somebody in transportation, if they were going to have that would they would have to bribe somebody to do something like that. To remove a traffic light like that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but if you could put it under a particular, oh, you know what, this is wasting tax dollars. This is taking this much money per month, per year, per every quarter. We don't really need this here, right? And we'll put a stop sign, right? Or we'll put a traffic circle here. If you can make it can be a process where a person makes a phone call, another person makes a phone call. Hey, we're going to donate such and such, or your competition looks pretty damn. They're going to go along with us on this and this and
more
that.
appealing.
It'll be a shame to they look more appealing. It'll be a shame if they they kind of side with us. Go ahead, Abby.
Speaking of which, have you heard about the Brett Favre situation?
No,
it's not Mississippi, the welfare scandal and shit. You mean?
Yeah, he turns out he was getting welfare money in the millions to do crazy stuff like build a stadium for his daughter's soccer team or something. This was something real crazy.
Real quick, AB, let me read this because Better You just corrected me. He said they didn't move the light. They changed the cadence so the red light periods didn't last as long. Wow.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Talking about
is that worse or is that better than what I said? I mean, okay, so you didn't get the whole light removed, but you still got the pull to change the cadence of the light so that it wouldn't be there that long.
Oh, they changed. Oh, okay, they changed the timing on that, the timer on that shit. All right.
So you don't get a chance to walk up to the person's window, and be like, "Hey, yeah, we're protesting for better working conditions and blah blah blah." And
if you ever talk to Amazon workers, they all have stories on the horrible. Every Amazon worker I've ever talked to, and I hear people doing Amazon's hiring me. I don't want to work there. Have you ever talked to one of their workers? They work the people half to death.
Shit, I mean,
shout out to Better You. Thank you for the correction, brother.
AB, you remember Snowman?
I never worked for Amazon.
Yeah. AB.
Yeah.
Remember Snowman? He and his wife, they used to work for Amazon back when they were living in North Carolina.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they talked about that. Yeah, he talked about that on his Snowman Unfiltered podcast.
Wow.
Hey, even up here in SAC, they had mandatory overtime up until 3 months ago. Even up here at the West SAC location. So yeah,
Wow.
it's bad all over, bro.
I know y'all keep on hearing me say
all
"wow,"
over,
but like
bro.
for real, like that's so. It was. I mean, like that mandatory OT. That's because I don't have no kids and nothing. So I would probably be ish with that.
They was talking about.
Yeah.
They was talking about. Nah, no, you wouldn't, because they was talking about like 14-hour shifts, like 5 days a week, 6 days a week, because they were behind. So like 14-hour, 16-hour shifts, like 2 time and a half type shit. Like that's how much OT I'm talking about. That's Mando OT I'm talking about. I ain't talking about just 1 time and a half. I'm talking about beyond the 2 to 4 hours, beyond a 12-hour shift already.
Let me find real quick. Trell Bentley said one of my first projects in college was to design logic for signal lights. That's dope. Dope. And GC says Amazon warehouse run like plantation. Sheesh.
Yikes.
Man, I'm about to get into one of these. I'm about to get into one of these coding computer science locations and stuff like that. That's what I'm trying to get into right now. I got an interview that's going good. All I got to do is explain my project just, a basic version of ping pong and, a basic website tour and stuff like that. That's it.
Pookie, my question to you is this. When you do your presentation, are you going to use that voice or are you going to code switch?
No need for him to code switch. Something he sounds.
Well, he's gonna sound a bit more proper, a bit more convincing. It's like a sales pitch. A presentation is kind of like a sales pitch. That's all I'm saying. All right. Z, what'd you do? Hey, Louis Conyer. How you doing, Louis?
Yo,
what's going on?
Yo,
Louis?
what's up? What's up?
Oh, okay,
What's
Louis.
going
No,
on?
my bad, Louis. I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember the thumbnail, so I just was like, wait, let me get this ready.
I use the sergeant's thumbnail when I go into Rome, but my icon is the Marine Corps icon. When
Okay,
I'm in
yeah.
text.
Because I was a little afraid. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna get doxxed already. I'm not doxxed. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get somebody gonna freaking what?
Nah, I'm not showing no porn. Ain't gonna be no porn show. Like what they did to Roger a while back.
Bro, I was trying for not to happen. All right, no, you're good. You're good. All right,
Wait a minute, Louis. You think that's bad? I remember what happened on Charles's hangout one time. We had some BBW black chick come in and she started twerking on us. And then me and Mel, we were crying because the bitch me too us. That was a me too.
Pookie, I hope everything's all right. I don't know, did I X you off or did you drop? I don't know what happened, but
he was experiencing technical difficulties.
Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't.
Sorry, as you were, Louis.
Yeah, go ahead, Louis. You go ahead.
Nah, I was listening to your chat with everything going on, and I'm at work right now. I'm a store manager in the supermarkets, and shit is fucked up. We got a projection that like around late October, early November, the proverbial issue's going to hit the fan with like the food shortages.
Oh,
and right now,
so you're trying to tell me to start stocking up? Hey, y'all hear that? Everybody in the Black Master, info coming in. Go ahead, go ahead. Inform us.
And you see these women out here, they got the utter look of despair on their fucking faces. The ones that that depends on the system. So, and most of my fucking shoplifters now are all women and shit.
Oh, well, that middle-aged white women are the number one shoplifters in the country. That's a fact.
Really?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Didn't know that.
Middle-aged white women?
Middle age, and I think what did they say? And was it middle income too? No, but I know it's middle age. Yeah, bro. But they be taking little things like little makeup, little things because it's like they get a rush out of it. Yeah.
Oh wait. Z. Are we talking about kleptomania by any chance?
Pretty much.
Kleptomania?
Yeah.
If they're kleptomaniacs, that's one thing. But anyway.
Yeah,
go
ahead, Louis. You go ahead.
What was that?
No, go ahead. You were saying something.
Oh no, I was just saying, like with the food shortage and everything, like people do not realize what is coming. And we've been spoiled for so long with the amenities of technology and living here. And we always had the mentality that it could never happen to us. And a lot of people is about to get a serious rude awakening.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you.
Louis, take it from me. I'm East African. I remember this is like in the 2000s. Oh yeah, thank you, Mr. Bentley. Kleptomania is very prevalent among them. Oh,
yeah.
Oh wow, kleptomania. But anyway, I can tell you this right now. Where I'm originally from, I remember it was like in the 2000s. People would be gossip. You would hear men, as well as the women, gossiping and just bitching and talking shit about the price of food stuff. Like they were going to like the open markets or the open air markets in city center, and they were talking about how the price of shit was going up and everything. And this isn't like in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. And then when when did crude oil become $100 a barrel on the stock market?
Oh, that I don't remember.
Because I remember. I remember it was 50. It went to hit 50, and then when it hit $100, everybody lost their shit. Especially in Eritrea, but I'm not sure how it was in Ethiopia. But because of the food, because of it, and we didn't have subsidies at the time, so. And if it was bad then for a lot of people. People were losing their shit. So think about what's going on right now with fuel prices going up. Or how about or how about this? The price of wheat going up in 07, 08.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find spaghetti in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't find
spaghetti?
a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, spaghetti.
Well, he's in Indiana, so this food stockage over there is like crazy right now for you guys. Like in 08, 09, I remember the price of it was going up, and my man had to explain it to me. He's like, no, it's not because of that. It was because, the stocks are going up and people are just buying food grains, whatnot, for ethanol oil and shit.
Trell Bentley was like, are you talking about around 06, 07?
Yeah, around that time, around 06,
Okay.
05,
Yeah.
06.
Okay.
That's when when crude oil went up $100 a barrel.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I remember. Oh, I had my Red Z. Well, my first Red Z. Oh, that was the first one.
Your what?
No, my Red 300 ZX. I remember paying the gas prices for those because those cars are premium only. So down here in South Florida, that's 93, and it was not cheap. Yeah, that was not.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one story. I'll give you one story regarding fuel prices. I remember a couple stories. One was because a lot of people here, whenever the price commission was gonna bump up the price on certain things, like especially gas. The day before that shit happened, you would probably see long lines of cars getting ready to pump gas, getting they're filling up their tanks. And what's going on? Oh, they got the word that such and such, somebody had a friend or family from the price offices telling them, yo, they're gonna up the price of fuel. You better fuel up. And also up here, in as far as the developing world, a lot of people use kerosene for cooking stoves and whatnot. I remember when there was a rumor going out there of the prices, people started panic buying, and we're like, what the fuck? So it will come as no surprise if you start seeing rumors being spread about the increase of prices and people are panic buying just to be on the safe side. Go ahead, AB.
I definitely see that happening. Go ahead, whoever wanted to speak. Go ahead. 18th letter. What's going on, bro? You can speak whenever you want.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Z? How you doing today, brother?
What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. I would just want to say I agree with the brother who was just previously talking. Things are becoming more and more expensive. Inflation is taking full effect. Food shortages and, based off of, price.
Did anybody hear him?
Yeah. No, I can hear him clear.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good. Yeah. Keep
going.
Based off of everything that you discussed in previous videos, there's quite a few people that are not prepared for, what's to come. And mostly a lot of brothers are. We have these conversations, just like you said, not just about what's going on within our community, but what's going on outside of it as well. Usually from an economic standpoint and from the way things are developing, and there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be mentally cracking. And when it comes to what's going on within our communities, I say, hey, chickens have come home to roost, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I hope ain't no brothers out here simping and falling for the soft girl era.
Y'all, as a matter of fact, that's what I would argue with a lot of brothers. Be careful, because we're gonna have more and more unhinged people. That's men and women, white, black, Asian, Latino, right? Be careful out here, because people are gonna be cracking, and all it's gonna take is you stepping on their shoe the wrong way, or you cut them off in traffic the wrong way, and they're gone, bro. I just want people to be careful, especially with some of your female spouses and family members. Yeah, they might not be stronger than you. That still don't mean that knife won't hurt. Right?
Even worse than that, we've seen, a lot of these content creators on here encouraging a lot of women to get their firearms license.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, they're trying to hide that behind saying, "Oh, to make sure that you're safe." But in reality, based off of a lot of rhetoric that these women spew online, some of these women, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to start just deleting brothers.
I wouldn't
Just,
be.
you know, and I'm gonna just keep it a buck. If I'm facing that situation, if it's me and them, it's definitely gonna be them.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
look,
18,
just look
I have a
at.
question for you.
Hold on, wait a minute, neighbor. Just look at how many stories we've seen of dudes not doing anything crazy, just trying to leave the chick, and the chick tries to kill him.
Yeah.
Or does kill him, depending on the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Didn't cheat on him or nothing. Just got tired. Just was up front with like, look, I'm gone, and end up dead.
Yep.
You know what it is.
That's why I'm
baby.
talking about the economic environment, because people are hurt. People are already hurting. I don't even have to say people are gonna hurt. They're already hurting, right? And that's some of us in this space, right? Some of us come in this space to kind of alleviate some of that pain, and then definitely people outside of space. But at least I like to have the conversation. Shout out to my other person I talk class with all the time, Shay Sade. I like to have the conversation so that people aren't the angriest they could be, right? When you know it's not just you, and it's not a misery loves company, but you understand you just live in a particular window in a particular time where it's just going to be a little bit more difficult, a lot of bit more difficult to get certain things or to get to a certain status or to acquire a certain amount of wealth. And you can still work towards that. You're still going to strive, but if you don't get to that exact point, it ain't all your fault, right? I think that alleviates some of that pressure compared to when you think it's just you and yours. And like for women, it's blaming the men around them, their father or their ex-boyfriend, their ex-husband, whoever the hell, right? Because they're not looking at the entire environment. All they do is, well, if he would have did this, and if this would have went this way, and if he would have asked for this promotion, or if he would have started this business, then da da da. And that's just not the era you're living in currently, right? And I think a lot of people struggle with that. So that's, kind of where, and going to what AB and 18th letter are saying, like, bro, like, because people don't know what's going on in the environment, they're going to start they're not even trying, they're going to take that energy off on people around them. And because black men are around black women, guess what that means for you? So yeah.
Yeah. To use a Obsidian quote, they're about to go park ape crazy. Or ape crazy, some people would say. But
Park
to the
ape
18th
crazy,
letter,
that's
here's my
hysterical.
question. Yeah. To the 18th letter, I got a question for you, brother. I'm not sure what state you're in, but my question, like you said, they talk about like everybody needs to start exercising their Second Amendment right and whatnot. But how many waivers do you think women will get just to own and possess a firearm? Because there are things like certain restrictions they got to put on people, like mental health and whatnot, unless they like drop all those restrictions, let people just have weapons willy-nilly. Because like talked about how the governor took down those restrictions, was it last year, and now anybody can open carry like however the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Now imagine that.
Well, currently, brother, I'm in a blue state.
Uh-huh.
I am in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois to be exact. And usually here you have to have what you call a FOI card, which is a firearms owner ID, which you have to apply for. Then you have to be able to have nothing on your background to be able to apply for your permit to carry. A FOI card is just to be able to own, and then you also have to have a separate card to be able to permit to carry. And Illinois is one of the I think maybe the only state that actually where you have to have a firearms owner ID card right along with the concealed carry permit. So it doesn't take much to get it, as long as you don't have any type of anything on your background. And so it'll be very easy to obtain it. And it really, like I say, it goes into what's going on where a lot of these content creators are pretty much inciting rage, like what Mr. Z was saying.
Rage porn.
Inciting rage to make these women think. It's almost like the same type of rhetoric that was used with white supremacists to make black men to be the bad boogeyman. Like the reason why some of these white supremacists are armed to the teeth out in the middle of Wisconsin, where they don't even encounter any type of black.
Yeah.
You mean the black man, the black male super predator narrative? Even though if you look up the stats, even in 2019, White males
Thank
have
you,
like 3
Hillary
times
Rodham
like rape
Clinton, for
and
that.
sexual assault crimes. And most, to be honest, 90% of the crimes white males commit more. It's only the only reason why the statistic is disproportionately in the favor of Black Americans in terms of crime is because Black Americans commit disproportionate crimes against themselves for the most part, but they still don't commit the majority of the crimes in the U.S. at any disproportional rate. If you equalize the numbers for population, Black Americans actually disproportionately commit less crime than any other demographic for the most part, even with equal population sizes.
Look at it this way.
You can
Oh, by the way,
calculate it
James-
up and extrapolate it up if
wait,
you want
wait,
to.
you guys.
I've done the numbers.
All right, so
I've done the numbers.
We're gonna start doing closing statements now. This is about that we about to get to that 3.5 hour mark. All right.
Well, just to quote BGS, well, you're over about 3.5 an hour mark, but just to quote BGS, buckle up. It's going to get ugly. Just pray to the God of your understanding and keep it moving. I'm out.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up, AB. Look,
I'll be
man,
last.
it's crazy. It's the craziest thing, bro. This is why I played what I played today. I want people to know. I want us to prepare ourselves. We already had the brother Louis tell us, "Hey, y'all might want to start stacking some water." Right? He ain't say that. I'm not. Let me know. Let me don't even put that on Louis, just in case anybody try to get at him for something that he didn't say. I'm saying, Mr. Z is saying, y'all go ahead, because you're not supposed to incite panic or anything like that, and just stack up important stuff, non-perishables, just in case what might happen happens. Now, if it doesn't happen, then guess what? You got some extra ravioli sitting in the house, canned ravioli, right? What's the other and Vienna sausages and spam and whatever not so great tasting stuff is around. But yeah, but just in case, because it could get this ugly. We don't know, right? But yeah, so go ahead. Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
Go ahead, Louis. Go ahead, Louis. Because we know you're in the store. We know you're at work. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying get prepared, and honestly, it's the time to be very selfish. We've been too given for way too long. It's taken for granted, especially when hard times come. It's time to think about yourself and maybe your close loved ones, and maybe also, I hate to say this, you gotta be selfish even against your family members. And thank you for having me up. I'm going.
All right, Louis. Thanks for coming up. Thanks for giving us the heads up. Thank you very much. Yep.
Well, I'm gonna go next and get up out the way.
Go ahead, Pookie. Go ahead.
I feel like you need to be. It's beyond selfishness, because selfishness implies that everybody in this nation state isn't going for self already, just out of basis. So beyond that, I think that it's a point of you need to be unempathetic to others. Generally, you need to develop a general disposition of like apathy, and I feel like I've been making a mistake in my life for a long time, because for a long time I thought it was necessary to be empathetic, and now figuring out, especially in these dire times, it's far more necessary for me to lean towards the other side of apathy. Because one, I ain't really got a whole lot to give, and two, it's not necessarily, it's not going to stop anything.
You're a young man. It's okay. That's part of life. That's the building process. We get it.
And I'm trying to add these 2 cents together, these 2 dimes together, and make $1, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, we get it. We definitely get it. No, but yeah, I wouldn't don't turn off the empathy all the way. Don't because you don't want to be the flip side of what I was showing today. Some of these cold and calculated CEOs plot on your kids in a different type of way, right? Plot on your kids mental, right? Not physically, but mentally, right? So you don't want to flip on the other side just for a quick buck. Not fully. Right? Unless you want to be a billionaire or maybe even a trillionaire one day, and then maybe you might want to do that, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, thanks a lot, Pookie, for coming up, bro. All right. Who is next?
18th, go ahead. So I'd be last.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask a quick question before you get out of here, Mr. Z.
Go ahead.
Like, as far as what's been going on with these content creators that we previously spoken about. Actually, I did see one comment not that long ago on the Colorism's Queen channel, where it was a lady that asked in the comment section, so are we going to start seeing a progress report, any type of results on the swirling and different things like that? Because I would love to see it. And it got
Man.
47 likes with not one response. And
so another woman called out the Colorism Queen for like results.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I remember when the Colorism Queen first came on, and if you remember back in the day when she talked about when she understood what gaslighting was, because her previous ex, she said, "Now I understand what gaslighting was," and that was what my ex did to her. Then she turned around and applied that same concept to her audience.
Good point.
She turned around and applied the same concept to her audience. Also, she used what she learned about marketing to be able to profit off of her audience by jumping in and out of different movements that was taking place online.
That's why I called her out about it the other day. Go ahead, brother.
Jumping in and out of different movements that was online. Because one thing I remember she admitted, because she said she was a Cancer or something like that in one of her old lives that is long gone now. What she said, cancers, they say cancers are sneaky. I will admit that, which goes to show you how she applied that to jumping in and out of different movements. And then once they became too much negative attention, then she speaks against that movement. If you notice that?
Yeah. I mean,
facing a motherfucker.
This is the thing. Some of that, most of that, I will lay at her feet. But then I can't be fully mad at her because her subscribers want to hear her say these things, right? Some of these people are young and impressionable, and I'm annoyed that she's influencing them, and I don't know how much responsibility I want to put on them under the age. It should be 18, but I'll say 20, right? But then the other part of it is that many of those subscribers just want to hear somebody reiterate to them something they're feeling and maybe say it in a more articulate manner, right? And that's where she comes in, right? And that's where a lot of those content creators come in. They say the things in a way that their subscribers and their followers, they gravitate to, right? And if the Colorism Queen is making money off of selling more rage porn, more swirler divester stuff, more Black women empowerment stuff, then I mean, it's not illegal. It's not illegal to make money off of rage. It's not illegal to make money off of sadness and loneliness. It's not illegal. So is it morally or ethically correct? Maybe not, right? But it's not illegal. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to watch those sisters fall off the cliff. And falling off the cliff might be legitimately, we say, I don't like saying the die alone thing because it's become a cliche, but for real though, right? And that's unfortunate, right? I mean, if younger Xers, millennials, and Gen Z are just going to become the more and more people that pass by themselves, that's sad and unfortunate. But once again, I could tie that back to the subject. If you've allowed yourself to be priced out the market or become too expensive, and it's not even like you are really a good person in the first place, or you're expensive and you're not really a good person, I can blame the Colorism Queen to a certain extent, but you listen to her, and you listened to her for years, and all she did was enrage you even more. And now you're in your late 30s, your early 40s, or mid 40s, and you're insufferable because you consume content like hers and other people's, and you're not looking at the environment. You got other content creators that tell you, hey, it's all about the rich dude. If you ain't getting a dude, if dude ain't paying all the bills, then don't be with him. That's why I played what I played today. Y'all go ahead and make of it what you will, because most of y'all are looking for I keep on saying top 20%. Really, you looking for the top 5% lifestyle. Have fun with that. Have fun. Them numbers ain't looking in your favor, but okay.
And
go ahead.
One of the reasons that I focus on the Colorism Queen more so than any other people being in this space for quite some time, because she's one of those people that are very slick with her words. She's very manipulative, and she tends to gaslight her audience versus French Italy or any of these other women, because you can see right through them. They're not as cunning as she is. And even now, like the previous video that you spoke about, that don't talk about it, be about it. Now now that her audience wants results, she's turning it back on them and saying, well, you guys are going to have to start swirling. You guys are going to have to start going out there and different things like that. And, she asks her audience, well, what do you guys want to talk about? What topics do you want to what topics do you want to speak about? Because if you notice, when she started transitioning, no matter what, even when black men was not in the room, she found a way to implement black men into the argument. In every aspect. She was, affiliated with CK and quite a few other people, even
and
BB.
they fell out.
Even
and then
BB.
they fell out too.
So like all of these groups, so it was all good as far as getting.
It was all good a week ago.
It was all good just a week ago, and now what we're seeing is a lot of these people are starting to because it was never genuine in the first place. It was never any type of camaraderie. But I believe that, in my personal opinion, the colorism queen, lives a certain lifestyle, and she's trying to keep that lifestyle going. I think when a lot of these women speak, they are liars, first and foremost, and they project quite a bit. And usually you have to pay close attention to a person that keeps repeating themselves. And she will repeat herself in numerous videos about, this is just side money for me. I don't really need this money.
I hate when people say that.
What type of bullshit is that?
And
people say that
and
stuff,
she
bro.
said, this is just the little money I make.
Real quick, 18 letter, you just triggered me with that, because you know what that remind me of? Everybody got that one coworker that swear they don't got to be at the job.
Bullshit.
They swear they don't need it. Exactly. Everybody got that one, at least one coworker that every other day, man, I don't need this job anyway. Yeah. That's why you can't. That's why you woke your ass up and made sure you was here at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, because you don't need this job, right? BS. Everybody has that person, and every once in a while, that person might be telling the truth, but usually, nah.
Absolutely. And see, I believe French Italy, she's going to continue this career down for the long haul, because unlike the colorism queen and different people, see, she's shown her face, so she's in it for the long haul. Because at 300,000 subscribers, it's going to be very difficult when people look up your history and see that you've been spewing this type of rhetoric. Also, Cynthia G as well. I should have said her name, but
no, you good. I'm not worried about that lady
she,
coming after me. I don't.
She's another one that's in it for the long haul. See, YouTube is a platform that a lot of these people have. People like Lex Exodus, Divested Zealot, and all of these other groups. I think these people should be fired and reprimanded with whatever profession that they have, because these people are spewing hate speech online. And French Italy and the colorism queen, they are very careful with what they say, even though they insinuate a lot of what the other,
and they delete their video. That's the smart thing. They deleted their lie. Exactly, because they man, I'm telling you, when you hear some of the things they say and how they say in the weird sassy, that's the thing I think that gets me. It's the unwarranted sassiness. Let me address something real quick. GC asked this question about the census. GC, so I don't know if anybody got the status from that census yet, right? But yeah, the census, I think a lot of the information already came out. And let me read this also from Indigo Flow. Glad it's not me. I don't like the cliche stuff. The die alone thing got ran into the ground. Plus, it got corny when chicks tried to turn it around on men. Yeah. I agree. And to sum up all of that, bro, this thing for real. Once again, environment putting its foot in people's rear ends, inflation getting super crazy, and so these content creators housing prices, all of that, right? And so these content creators are just further enraging people that are most black people living, day to day, and they're taking your precarity, your angst, your anger, your sadness, your loneliness, and your rage, and then they're directing that to black men in particular, right? Not to the system, not to the white racists, not to the business people, to the politicians, to all the people with the power, right? They're directing that mainly to your everyday working class black dude that's making some 35, 40, 45, 50 grand a year. Like that's insane to me, right? And that
And,
like, yeah.
and
But
another
yeah,
thing,
18.
Mr. Z,
Go ahead.
why haven't we heard these women speak about what's going on with the Little Mermaid?
I think a couple of them are gonna make videos about that. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna give it another week to see. We'll table that and let's see in another week or so, right? But that's a very clear. And then you notice what was going on. Notice who was mocking and making fun of it. It's mainly white dudes.
Oh yeah, that
younger white
saying
dudes. So
that if they want.
it's exactly. So like that's, to me, that's very. And by the way, I can understand some of the criticism, right? But right at the same time, this is clear. We see who it is, and like we're saying, these are the same zaddies that you think are gonna save you from air quotes Blackistan, right? All right, yeah. It's just retarded. But yeah, 18th letter, man. Let me let Namer speaking, so we could get out here. Mr. Z could actually eat some dinner real late, right?
Yeah. Also want that some of that plum wine, you ugly motherfucker.
Yeah, I have a half thing of plum wine downstairs, but that's not what I'm drinking. I'm drinking this vodka brand me and my girl got from a black distillery. Yeah, so I'll take a picture of it and hopefully y'all support it. A black vodka brand. So I brought vodka. That's what I'm actually drinking, my cranberry and vodka and stuff like that.
Hey, if you meet my brother, hey, if you ever been to like an Ethiopian Eritrean restaurant anytime in Florida, ask for that mead. It's a honey wine.
Mead?
You might try it. You might like it.
How do you spell
it?
Honey
Honey
wine. Honey wine. Okay, honey wine. Okay.
Or what we call. Well, it depends on which language it's in. In America, it's called Tej, EEJ. But in Tigrinya, we say mess, MESS. But anyway, first of all, before I say what I want to say, can you bring up Aquateki's quote? Yeah, Aquateki quote.
Where is it? Damn, I can't see it from
the musical
here.
one. It's the musical one.
Okay, wait a minute. I might probably have to do it on my phone because I can't see it on the laptop. Wait a minute. Aquateki. What do you say? So I could.
There was the one with the musical notes on it.
Oh, the don't push me because I'm close to the edge. Go ahead.
Yeah. Don't push me. I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, that's the other non-ADOS in this motherfucker. But understand me when I say this. First of all, folks, I am a cluster B personality disorder. And I say that to say this, folks. You might as well start looking up YouTube clips, find out books on cluster B. Yeah, thank you. Don't push me. I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Right.
Can't go wrong with the classics. Can't go wrong with the classics. Man, I was breakdancing when I was little. I tried breakdancing when I was little. But anyway, like I said, I'm a cluster B personality disorder. And the reason I'm saying this to you guys, because right now, you guys might want to start picking up books, find out books on psychopathy and narcissism. Because there's some sick ass folks out here. That shit is running rampant, and you guys got to know the cues and know what kind of nut jobs you're dealing with.
Yes.
You guys have to understand, because there's going to be a lot of unhinged people out here. And they're going to be some of the most unhinged motherfuckers in there. But of course, borderlines, you got to be careful with some of them. If they haven't gotten treatment, they could be a little dangerous. But trust me, they are empathetic, so they won't harm a lot of people. But with that being said, it's getting dark. Prepare for what's going to be coming. Watch your ashes. Watch your six. And I'm pretty sure the only people who won't break, who won't be losing it, are those who are already broken. Like,
good point.
No, I'm not bullshitting.
Yeah.
Like those of us with PTSD or complex PTSD, we're anesthetized to some of this shit that's going on. So we're used to this. I mean, thankfully for me, that's what kept me from bugging out when the pandemic happened. But folks, you need to prepare for what's going on. People are on the edge. So everybody guard your six. If you're a military veteran, call up some of your fellow brethren in arms who still got their heads on straight, and understand that you guys are going to have to protect yourselves, your families, because it's a lot of shit going out here. But much appreciated. So y'all, peace out. Mr. 18,
how did I get knocked? Yeah, how did
I
I get knocked out of my own stream? But yeah, all right. Thanks, Namer, for the closing.
Pleasure.
Thanks, 18, for being here. And,
shout out to you, Mr. Z. I just wanted to say, just like the late great DMX first album, man, it's dark and hell is hot.
Right.
Everybody just everybody just be prepared. One more thing I'll just say before I get out of here, Mr. Z, is that
go ahead.
I want us to have more camaraderie amongst us as black men. We all we got. We don't have anybody else. A lot of these women within our community, we have to come to an understanding that they picked their side. And in my personal opinion, I'm not as diplomatic as Mr. Z. So I don't view these women. I don't view these women as nothing to me, because
shout out to my brother Edward Anderson. He said I'm black woman social worker. Go ahead, Jerome. Jerome. Go ahead, 18th letter. Go ahead.
Some of these women, if they was able to have us throats slit in cahoots with some of these white supremacists, they will. Anything to be validated and accepted, and we have to understand that. I want to.
That reminds me. Sorry, brother, I got to interrupt, but that reminds me. I forgot to mention. Everybody, check out BGS Edmore's clip on his response on the whole soft girl era, because he explained it right then and there. He explained. Yeah, they act in a certain way, but understand it's just a smokescreen, because they're not even telling you. Because even the chick whose clip he criticized, she's not even telling them what she's offering black men, because we got to flip the script and go like Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately, bitch?
What have you done for me lately? Anyway,
and I would just say, a lot of brothers, don't be apologetic about being a black man. Don't be apologetic. Don't. I'm not bending. I'm not folding, and I'm willing to meet fire with fire, because these women have tried to damage our reputation. They've done so much damage within our community, all out of wanting to be validated because they feel inferior to white women. And it has gone too far. And as you can see now, they're trying to they've chosen power and government subsidies and public housing and various things over their own men, and they now view black men no different than a white supremacist do. So with that being said, I have no love for them. You're not my sister. If anything, you're opposition. And all my Chicago people know what opposition is. So
ops. Anyway, go ahead.
Ops, yeah. So
Chicago gave us ops.
So that with that being said, when they come frowning and in a somber state, talking about the soft girl era, you can write right where you stand, for all I care. Because if it was up to you, you'll still be doing what you was doing. If it wasn't any type of consequences, we're having to face reality that we're facing right now.
That's a fact.
So I think it's about time for brothers to start standing up for ourselves. And one guy in the comment section named GC, he did make a good comment when he said, I wish we compiled a lot of the effed up stuff that they were saying, which I tried to download.
Some of us have. Yeah, some of it. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. You got some. I got some. I think I'm gonna have to maybe, but man, I'm gonna have to have time though. But like, go to different things and like download stuff and clip them out, and that way we could just have a smorgasbord of just like everything that they've said.
Because I don't have anything, Mrs. Z. I tried to download a couple of things when I got hip to it, but for the brothers that do, it would be great to have a collage video on that. And make that upload that as a video, and then do a live stream about that. Because these people try to hide everything that they say, and let's be clear, this is how they think. This is how they truly feel. People like the Colorism Queen, French Italy, Yunny, which I don't even. If it was up to me, brothers wouldn't even touch none of these women with a 10-foot pole. They don't even deserve to be. I wouldn't even recommend brothers to even be in the same bed as these women. Don't touch these women at all. If you notice with Yunny, she moved to Houston, which is a black city. I'm like, I don't understand, if you hate these men so much, why do you want to be around? Why do you even want to sleep with these men? Because having any man is better than no option. And the fact that you still you were in cahoots with a lot of these white supremacists because these are the men that you truly wanted, and then you have the nerve to insult me by even coming back over here. Please.
That's a fact. That's a fact. But yeah, man, let me name over here making jokes. So the name it says, "Shut down, Mr. Z. I hear your stomach acting a fool." Yeah, man, let me get out of here for real, for real.
All right,
yeah.
Thanks once again, brother. Really
Once again,
appreciate you allowing me on your platform.
No, thank you for your support. Thank everybody for listening in who's been here since the beginning, bro. And thank you, 18th letter. But yeah, man, I mean,
I know you got to get something to eat, brother.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to start a movement, BMATG, Black Men Against the World.
Right.
We all we got.
We all we got.
We all we got. And all we need to start acting like it. Peace, one love.
I agree. All right, 18. Thank you once again for coming up. Thank you everybody else, right, for supporting and listening in. I think my final word is going to be, I showed y'all some of what's going on financially in the environment. By the way, there is so much more content. I left so much on the table. I left so much. For real, to be honest with you, I don't even really feel like I even like gave y'all just anything really. But thank you for supporting me. But there's so much more. This stream could have went on forever. I don't have the time to really keep on going tonight. But thank y'all for supporting. Thank y'all for listening in. Y'all can see what's going on in the economic environment. Thanks the brother for telling us what's coming down the pike with these stores. So I'm telling y'all, y'all might want to start, saving up a little bit of non-perishable foods. And these people, I don't know if they're amoral. I don't know if greed is that crazy. Like if they're that greedy, right? Gordon Gekko, greed is good, right? I don't know what's going on with these people. But this, I remember that. Yep, I remember that. Yep. Detroit. Yanni admitted she has gotten sexually harassment by white men, then bringing out the fake tears. Yeah, I remember that. Yep, I saw that. Shout out to Detroit 313. So yeah, greed is good, Gordon Gekko. So yeah, so I don't know if these people, if that's how they think. Like that's why I had to play the clip for y'all of the Disney dude saying what he said. Right? And like you got so much, like you got the CEO of Nestle years ago, what did he say? Something like clean water isn't a right, or water isn't a right. Something like that, something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. Then they tried to say people misread what he was saying or whatever the hell. Like, bro, they already told you. Didn't the psychologist or the psychologist, I think, has said like our CEOs and our presidents and our leaders are like sociopaths. I mean, that's frightening, right? So I just want y'all to know the environment. Once again, this is not an anti-wealth video. This is not an this is not an anti-money video. This is not an anti-work your ass off if there's certain things you want or need in life video. This was just this is the environment, the financial and the economic environment that we living Black people, Black men in particular, find ourselves in. So I'll end with that. Thank y'all a lot for supporting me today. Black Manosphere Show of the Week. Don't forget to check out the Nameless Protagonist next week, Sunday, same time, 7 o'clock Eastern time and 6 o'clock Central time, so 6 o'clock p.m. And with that, I'm out, you guys. Peace, love, right? Peace and chicken grease.